federal appeals court has agreed to delay the sale of emergency contraception without a prescription for people of all ages.
We do have a quorum. Who could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Councilmember Gonzalez.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Council members, if we could move up the item 8B to the beginning of the agenda. We have the ladies that are on that item present in the audience. We can move that item. That's the only change I have. That would be after 5E.
Move to approve as amended, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Approve. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we'll go to item 5A, approval of the meeting minutes of April 9th, 2013. Any questions to those meetings as presented?
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mr. Mayor. None, Mr. Mayor.
I have none, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we have the meeting minutes of April 23rd, 2013. If there isn't any changes, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes as well.
And none, Mr. Mayor.
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we will go to the meeting minutes of April 25th, 2013. What is the pleasure of the council of those meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we will go to the meeting minutes of May 1st, 2013. What is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. The meeting minutes of May 2nd, 2013. What is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we will go to item 8B, Resolution 13-10, consideration approval of Resolution 1310, appointing Finance Audit Committee. Members, teams, terms will run concurrent to the mayor's term and are listed as follows. Councilmember Fred Peralta, Councilmember of the Town of Taos, Wanda Lucero, Business Representative, and Michelle Griego, Financial Institution Representative. I'd like to welcome these ladies into the audience. Welcome. Welcome to our meeting. And Marietta, just to give us a review of what this committee is about.
Mr. Mayor, council members, and town manager, and youth council member, we have gone to recommendations from the auditors to establish an audit committee, a finance audit committee, and also best practices through the Government Finance Officers Association. And this is the first time that the town has actually created this committee. And they will be, oversight recommendations of the internal controls and also of the audit findings if we have any into the next years, and improvements of what we are doing to take care of those audit findings. And I think whatever else we internally, and based on their time commitment, that we can, establish other things that they can help the town with in transparency of our government practices that we have. So This is a recommendation from the organizations in the town ourselves, and improvements to the finance department.
Okay. Thank you, Marietta. I just want to thank these individuals for serving on this committee. We know that the town is going to be served well by these individuals because their expertise and knowledge and experience in business and banking.
And that was one of the things. There's no conflict of interest with these individuals because we do, have several banks in the area. But with Michelle, she's no conflict of interest, and same with Wanda Wanda Lucero. I'm sorry. I apologize. So that's all. They're shut now, huh?
Okay. Thank you, Marietta. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to show that I did not vote on this issue since I serve on the committee.
Okay. Let the record show that 3 in the affirmative and 1 abstention. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for serving.
Thank you. And thank you, Councilmember Peralta, for accepting this, because he is going to be a great asset to this committee.
Yes, and personally, I want to thank Councilmember Peralta for serving on this because of his wealth of knowledge on budgets in the town of Taos. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to the Citizens Forum, and we have several individuals, a couple of individuals that want to speak under the Citizens Forum. I was approached before the meeting. And it's been the pleasure of the council to repurpose the convention center and this facility, the buildings that the town feels are underused. We put out an RFP, and the council is still unaware of the results of the RFP. The manager needs to put that on an upcoming agenda so that the council can see where we go from here. At this time, I understand that it's the recommendation, at this point, a recommendation from the manager that the RFPs, that we not move forward with the RFPs. However, it is still up to the pleasure of the council to see where we go from here. So, Oscar, if you could give us a short briefing before these individuals talk to clarify some issues that may be out there. And then I'll call the individuals to speak.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. As you recall, working with you, we fashioned a request for proposals. Our goal was to get proposals that would have allowed us to, if you will, repurpose the convention center, not just one building, but the majority of the convention center, including Baton Hall, Rio Grande Hall, primarily those facilities. We put some other things into that RFP, hoping to get maybe a proposal that would have taken everything into account. We did that with your input, also with a lot of public input. There was a lot of concern, and we heard from a lot of people out there that so long as the facilities somehow remained in public hands in some fashion, that the repurposing would have been okay. So we advertised, we hurried, we pretty much pushed the staff to prepare the RFP, and then did for the shortest possible period that was possible under law for us to advertise and get proposals. We then got 3 proposals, and after reviewing the proposals, it was very clear that none of the proposals were sufficiently responsive to the RFP. None of the proposals, for example, pitched to us the use of Baton Hall and Rio Grande Hall, the biggest cost factors, the biggest cost centers for us. All the proposals that we got were for Coronado, and one for only Coronado. One proposal was only for Don Fernando, and there was one proposal for both Don Fernando and Coronado. And so based on that, seeing as how the biggest costs that we were seeing were across the street and not here, I recommended that we turn all of the proposals down and then go from here on plan on what we're going to do from this point. And what I'm telling you, just from the financial standpoint, that to have entered into a contract just for these facilities, and then by some means found a way to replace or make for a proper council chambers was just not a positive financial position for the town. So I recommended that we close that. Of course, if it's the council's wish to bring that back or to go from here, glad to put the item back. But at this point, I couldn't recommend to you financially any one of those proposals, any one of the 3 proposals.
Okay. At this time, I would open up the public hearing, and we have Fiona Ratzlaff. Tisa? Yes. Fiona, welcome to our meeting.
How are you today?
Great.
Thank you for recognizing me.
Sure.
I just had a few quick questions because I'm concerned about TISA. I have a daughter there as well, and the parents have been called out twice now. So we're concerned as to how we can go about working with the town, helping the children, and also working with the high-altitude athletics that already exist they're willing to work with TISA, so they have an exercise program, so it's a benefit for many. And I was curious as to where you sat, and my questions are, is there some way to inform us as to how to go about making a better proposal, or what is it that you're looking for so that people understand what it is we need to do?
Mr. Mayor, let me understand. We couldn't possibly help you make for a better proposal to us because we're the other side of the table. What we did as best as we could was to describe to you what we were hoping to get in the request for proposals. And in those requests for proposals, as we made it pretty clear that one, the town was looking for a positive financial position after this. In other words, to defray our costs here, by somebody taking them over. What we got instead was just proposals basically for the best kept of all the three facilities, leaving the two, still on our plate. And so, the formula or the whole purpose for the RFP by that means was defeated. And so, the big capital improvement costs, because the building is in pretty good shape already. This building is in pretty good shape already. The ones across the street are the ones where we needed help. So when the proposals came only for the best of all the facilities, I hope you understand that from the town standpoint, that's just not a good financial decision. I mean, that's just not a good financial proposal for us.
I do have one more question, and I will not waste your time any longer. From my understanding, last year, you actually were considering, or your goal was, to take all of these facilities and turn it into like a youth central kind of setup. From my understanding from someone external from the committee and the mayor, it has nothing to do with any of you, but my understanding at some point was that generally you were going to set up more geared towards children, all of this at one point. And I don't know if that ever moved forward or anything, and it had to do with before high altitude came in here.
I don't know anything at all about such a plan.
And in my tenure, the only proposals that we had seen prior to this RFP going out was the high altitude athletics, which I was very adamant supporting. But there had been some ideas discussed by expanding some of the other rooms as well by that, but I don't recall the whole complex. But
may have been misinformed. I just had a quick question. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Fiona. Next, we will go to Linda Soto. Sato. Welcome to our meeting.
Good evening, everyone.
Let the record show. Let the record hold on. No. Let the record show. What I want to do is allow 2 minutes for each one of the individuals, because we have a lengthy agenda and we have some other commitments. So you may proceed.
My name is Linda Sato. I am the founder of TISA, Taos Integrated School of the Arts, and I just wanted to inform the council kind of what our history is and why we would even want these buildings. I had a vision 5 years ago to form a school that would serve our community, a public school, a free school. We are a free charter school that serves 145 students at this point and will at capacity serve 180. We are fortunate to have a facility for our K through 4th grade right there in Manzanares, which is in walking distance of all of the town amenities, which we take advantage of. We go to the library, we use Kit Carson Park, we use Baca Park, we go to the galleries. We have a partnership with High Altitude Athletics. However, our 5th through 8th grade are in a facility that is not walkable, is not able to partake in those, and that is part of our mission for our school. And so being able to be in this building would be beneficial to a lot of Taos community families and members. We have waiting lists of people who want to get into our school because we are the only school in this county that uses the arts to teach content. A lot of schools have art programs, they have music programs, they have dance programs, but we actually integrate it into every day of our children's school lives. So I wanted you to understand the importance for us to have facilities in town, and I really feel like a partnership with the town would be beneficial to everyone. And it would, we do have state monies that come to us every year, so that I don't know what you're talking about financially, Oscar, but I do know that we have a steady income that is specifically earmarked for lease monies. And so we can guarantee that we would be paying whatever amount it is every year, every month, whatever the agreement would be. And as far as your building across the street, I'm assuming you're talking about the municipal court there. What building are you talking about across the street?
Convention Center.
The convention center is not in as good condition as this building? Is that what you're saying?
The roof, the baton hall.
Right, it's in a far worse condition. In fact,
Really? I wasn't aware of that. It doesn't seem like that should be the case, because I think it's a newer building, is what I understand. This building is the older building, isn't it?
Baton hall is the one that needs some serious roof work.
Really? Okay. Well, anyway, I feel like the town should have given more information. It should have some sort of process where people could appeal, could actually find out what it is that you really need from us in terms of that, because I think you're biting off your nose to spite your face, personally. Because I think that financially speaking, if you were to lease this building to us, you would still have the benefit of using the council chambers, you would still have the benefit of using a lot of this building, but you would also have guaranteed lease funds every month that you would get, that you could use to help with whatever it is that you need to maintain this building, to work on other buildings that you have, because I understand the town has a lot of property that isn't being used at this moment, and you need to serve your community that way. Anyway, that's what I would like to say about that, just to give you the idea that we are a school that would like to be in the downtown area. This is one of the buildings that would work for us. It would be a great benefit to us and our families, but also to the community and the town of Taos. So, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask the manager a question real quick? Why was this building put on with that convention center services? Because when we started talking about this previously last year, we talked that council chambers, along with the other rooms that we have here, which are small venues for baptism showers, that type of stuff. Could we reissue the RFP to solely focus on Baton and Rio Grande so that it's not a misleading? Because from what I understand is that all the RFPs came directly for this facility and encompassed nothing of the two facilities that we have the biggest concerns with, when on the opposite side of the coin, council had kind of directed that chambers would still remain here. And I think it is hard, with regards to where it was discussed that council chambers could still operate with regards to school children being here. It's kind of a touchy setting with regards to that. As you know, council meetings happen at all hours of the day, different times. So just to not disrupt not only the learning process, but also the governmental process.
Councilmember Gonzalez, I know that that's what I heard from the council as well, but since HAA is already using this side of the street and this building, and one of the respondents or potential people that were interested, TISA, had specifically had some interest on this side and utilizing some of these rooms, or all the rooms. I thought it was wise to include this, to just see exactly what the proposal was. I did explain to TISA that it was council's desire that we didn't want to move council chambers, and what would that look like in their RFP. So that's how that kind of turned into that, because of the existing use and the interest, to see if there was going to be a kind of a halfway resolution to utilize all the buildings, and that's where that came from. So.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the TISA subject? Shelley Redigan? Yeah, Shelley. Welcome to our meeting.
Thank you. I'm the president of the school board, but I've also lived here 28 years. Mike, I voted for you. Darren, voted for you. Fred, voted for you. Andrew, voted for you. Rudy, voted for you. I've lived here a long time. I know each and every one of you, and you're all business people. I don't know you, Oscar. You've lived here a couple years. We have an opportunity not only to build community with the school, but we have an opportunity here. Look at me, all of you, to bring money into the town when you don't have it. I voted for all of you because you have vision. And the vision is to take the town of Taos into a black, not a red. We have two beautiful buildings. Yeah, we did the RFP for one and only because that's what we thought we were supposed to do. We have a K through 4 that could easily go into the baton in the next 14, 15 years. If you turn down money every single month, I have to question, do you really get your fiduciary requirements? You have a state-funded monies that can come into this building. You are never going to find a lease in which the lessor is going to make all improvements. It's not going to happen. Town has to accept some responsibility. This town is based on art. This school is the Taos Integrated School of the Arts. We could easily step right across the street, next door, and fund you with even more money. Do you want to have two buildings that become mothballs? Or do you want to believe in a school? Do you want to believe in something that can create a revenue for the town of Taos? Because that's what we can offer. That's what we have. How many of you read this? How many of you know the number that we can give you? The constituents of this town are going to question this decision. I voted for every one of you. I believe in every one of you. But the idea that you're just going to send a letter with no rationale, with no reason on why we're not, Oscar, a real reason? We are the real reason. We are what Taos stands for. And Mike, I know you know that. Darren, I know you know it. Fred, I know you know it. Andrew, I know you know it. And Rudy, I know you know it.
If we can wind up your comments, please.
Read the RFP. Read it. We are asking for one thing and one thing only in this building. A bathroom. That's ADA. That's it. In the future, my last comment, we could easily go across the street. And we could do that. And the revenue, because that's what business is based on. You will increase your revenue with us. And all of us who live here, you're going to increase the community. Thank you.
I have a question for the lady.
Shelley?
What's her name?
Shelley? Councilmember Silva has a question for you.
That's okay. I had a question. So maybe I'm a little confused, but did you or did you not respond to the RFP with regards to Baton and Rio Grande?
You know, we were never told that we could respond to the Baton. We were told that it was one specific building. I met with the mayor. Oscar was part of this meeting.
What did you understand? Which building do you understand
Don
was
Fernando.
Don Fernando only?
Only. And we made it very specific because the council chambers, you know, it was an issue. And when you read the RFP, you will see that we were totally, like, completely respectful. There was not one conversation that we were supposed to respond to both buildings. Not one.
I would disagree on that because when we met in my office, the intent was always, your interest was this building.
Well, you know what, guys? This is the bottom line. You mothball them, you'll mothball them. But if you want this, you will give us an opportunity. Not this year, obviously. We have some lease agreements that we have to, you know, be responsible to. But if you want us and you want a paycheck every single month, you allow us in that Don Fernando building. And you know what? I can guarantee you we'll take on Baton. But you cannot ask us to put on a roof and do this and do that. You're going to have to accept some responsibility of these two buildings that the taxpayers, me, you, all of us, are responsible for. So, Mike, my recollection is that we were only doing an RFP for one building. Let us resubmit.
And
we're state funded. We're like the money.
I just want to clarify that in our meeting, we made it very clear that all of the buildings, and it may very well be that we may only get responses that only have these buildings.
We could only,
hold on. I didn't interrupt you.
That's good enough.
And now that we've received the responses, now it's up to the council. Do they want to move forward or do they want to re-advertise it? But I made it very clear that our intent, the council's intent, was primarily to get rid of this side. To get it, and if there was going to be an RFP on this side, council was not willing to move council chambers. I made that very clear in our conversation.
Right,
but that's when we discussed about joint use, and you said you were going to submit a proposal according to that. So.
And I'm sure you read it.
Sure.
And I'm sure that you saw.
But I just want to make it clear that we
the
did
council
discuss.
chambers were not interfered on any level.
But the priority, I made it very clear, though, that the priority was the other buildings. I made it very clear that was the priority. You made it clear that your priority was these buildings.
No, I made it clear that we have a lease agreement.
Sure.
That's what I made clear.
Okay.
I mean, yes, Rudy.
No, I got it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hold on. Let me let Councilmember Silva finish.
Thank you. Shelley, would you entertain taking on the Baton and or Rio Grande only at this time?
Well, you know what, Councilman? We're on a timeline like everybody is. We have a lease agreement on the Manzanares building. We cannot commit to you in 2013, 2014 that we can take that on. We have to be responsible. We already have a lease agreement. If the council and the mayor would be willing to trust us, it's a big word, yeah, we could most likely take on Baton. But we can't take on the improvements. We can't put a roof on. We can pay utilities. We can pay you rent. We can give you money, which, by the way, none of you are getting right now.
So What I'd be interested to find out is to see, well, first of all, you're a state-run charter, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's where you're getting these guaranteed funds from?
Absolutely.
I'd be curious to see how much that dollar amount is and what amount you'd be willing to pledge towards these buildings. And then we could then have some information to work with to see if that money then would be enough for the improvements.
Well, it's more than you're getting.
Well, I'm just saying
And
that
what I'm saying
the information is what I'm looking to
It
get.
would be
Hold on,
like
hold on.
really
Shelley,
behoove me
Shelley,
if you could
Shelley,
read the
Shelley,
RFP.
Shelley, you need to let him
Okay.
speak here.
I'm interested in viewing some of that information. And that way we could perhaps go somewhere with it.
I like that.
Okay. That's all I have to say.
All I'm saying is that we are state funded. We are given money every single month. We are holding 2 leases right now, and we pay them every single month.
Okay.
Now,
Hold on. I need to
Yes.
we need to wrap this up because this is not an agenda item, and we need to get some final comments.
Thank you, Mayor Cordova. Thank you, ladies, for your input. Very well taken. As the town of Taos moves forward to get out of the convention center business, we still have an obligation to the citizens to provide a community center. And that's why this building is still best utilized for council chambers and all the auxiliary rooms for community center type events. So I would support, Mr. Mayor, staying at the macro level. I know it's a very emotional issue. Staying at the macro level. Let's go ahead and put out an RFP for Baton Hall and Rio Grande Hall, and let's see what comes in and work from there. But really, this building is not available, Mr. Mayor. Judge Chavez's building is not available. They're being used. They're being used quite well. But the 2 buildings across the street have a 10% or less utilization rate. That's where we need to put our focus. And you spoke to me just prior to the council meeting. You're willing to put in a proposal for Baton Hall. We're going to give you that opportunity. We're going to stay at the macro level, and let's just move it forward, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
well, and I'm going to take an opportunity to have closure. We were under a timeline. We're about, in 1 week, 13 days, we're going to sign a lease. And you guys, no, I'm going to have a closure. We're not going to be able to give you anything. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. I will put this on an upcoming agenda where we can have full discussion and allow full participation on it, because pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, we can't really get into direction and stuff like that on a citizens forum. We will talk internally with the manager, and I'll make it as soon as possible, so we can do that. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak under the citizens forum at this time? Mr. Northrop, welcome to our meeting.
I have 3 brief topics. My understanding is that the town has signed the command center contract and now is only waiting on Luis's signature. This document is an open-ended contract that may double the rent over the basic rent of $2,700 a month. Each of the elected officials before me is a businessman. None of you would ever sign such a questionable document, and you would laugh if one was presented to you. You'd fire your lawyer if he or she suggested that you should sign such a document. Yet not one of you protested this harebrained contract. This alone lets me know that not one of you is fit to sit on this council. Meanwhile, the perfectly serviceable police station 911 dispatch will soon sit empty, servicing only the purpose to hold the 911 dispatch tower, sending and receiving from the command center. This 2-year oddity is a quintessential boondoggle. The sign code draft is scheduled to be on the Council's 528 agenda. Until we have a New Mexico Department of Right-of-Way map, it is impossible to evaluate any draft. Once the map is produced, the community should have at least 2 months to comment on the draft. To do so otherwise is just another pig in the poke, much like the command center contract. Finally, tomorrow is opening game for the Taos Blizzard. I thank the town for working with the Taos Municipal Schools to bring this professional baseball team to Taos. Any questions?
I do have a comment. I just want to say it's a breath of fresh air that you give us a compliment. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And is there anyone else that would like to speak? Ronnie? Right. Welcome to our meeting.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Manager. My name is Ronnie Malanga, and I am the owner of Artwares Contemporary Jewelry on Taos Plaza. I'm here tonight representing the majority of the Taos Plaza merchants. We'd like to ask the Mayor and Council if you would not close the plaza, meaning that traffic will have access to parking during business hours on the Taos Plaza on Thursday, June 6, 2013. When the plaza is closed, it creates a problem for the merchants, and there is no business. We need parking spaces for our tourists to park and shop. The merchants that I have spoken to are Artwares Jewelry, Six Directions, Taos Mountain Candle, they have 2 stores, Acreellis Gallery, Sunshades, Mesa's Edge, Maison Favorie, the Village Shop, the George Cook Shops, which are Taos Cowboy, Taos Mercantile, Navajo Silver, Taos Trading, and the Pueblo Collection, Taos Cocopelli, Silver Touch, Indian Hills, and the Taos Southwest and Alturos. These are all people that have asked not to close the plaza on that particular day, and it's very important to us.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. I'm not going to ask the council to weigh in on this, but I just want to direct my comments to Oscar. I do not support closing the plaza for this event. I think that it's we're going to be taxed patrolling the other areas on this huge influx of people that are going to be coming here. And the last thing we need to do is allocate our resources to make sure and manage the other the plaza being closed. So I do not close that. I don't support the plaza being closed. Councilmember Beta.
Thank you, Mayor. I know you're not asking us to chime in, but I definitely want to chime in. June 6th is probably going to be one of the largest events in Taos history. We are going to probably close Civic Plaza Drive and use that as a large sidewalk to get people to the park. But there's absolutely no need to close the Taos Plaza. In fact, this is an opportunity to allow people to go through the plaza and shop at our local shops. So, to my knowledge, there's absolutely no plan to close the Taos Plaza.
And Mr. Mayor, being that this is on the agenda.
Not on the agenda.
Yes, sir, it is on the agenda. Yes, sir, you're going to hear a full presentation on this. We're going to ask you specifically to vote on this.
So it's later on the agenda.
No,
but
I understand, but since Ronnie was here, she deserved an answer right away.
So it is on the agenda, but that is for Civic Plaza Drive, not necessarily the plaza.
Well, the whole plan. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Mayor, the whole plan.
And that's why I responded accordingly, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, because it is just on Civic Plaza Drive.
Our
How it
attorney-
got to
our
Taos
attorney was
Plaza,
looking-
tomorrow we'll close
Yeah.
Paseo de Pueblo, so let's close the whole town, you know?
Our attorney was looking at me like not to vote on certain items that aren't on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Silva.
I too would like to chime in. You know, I was at Town Hall, I believe it was yesterday, and when I ran into our interim fire chief and our police chief, and, you know, Ken was there, and they're coming up with a plan to make sure that our constituents get the stay safe and come up with these safety plans that way in case of an emergency. And to close the plaza, to me, is just going to burden our police department and our fire department that much more. So I too couldn't support that. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak under the Citizens Forum at this time? Seeing none, I will close the Citizens Forum and move on to the items on the agenda. Item 7A, presentation by Ricky Serna of Northern New Mexico College. Vice President of the Office of Institutional Advancement, Northern New Mexico College, will give a brief presentation regarding updates that are taking place at the college. Welcome, Mr. Sena. I'd also like to welcome former Councilor of Española, Mr. Alfred Herrera. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh, is there going to be a, oh, great. Yeah, we have it in our iPads.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors. Once again, my name is Ricky Serna. I'm the Vice President for Institutional Advancement at Northern New Mexico College in Española. It's a pleasure to introduce to my left Mr. Alfred Herrera, who is a member of the Board of Regents of the institution. And we won't take up too much of your time. We appreciate you allowing us to spend a few minutes to share with you just a few things, highlights, updates about Northern New Mexico College, which is a four-year institution that you all know is just south of here. So I think they're going to... You have a presentation, and it's not very comprehensive, but what I think it'll do is just allow me to kind of get my thoughts in order. The very first slide, essentially, is just an update on the mission of the institution. But more importantly, on the next slide, I can kind of walk you through the history of Northern New Mexico College. As you all may know, the institution was chartered in 1909 as a normal school in El Brito, which is the mothership, if you will, of the hometown to the institution. It was chartered as an indigenous serving institution, so it became the first Hispanic serving institution in the United States, and it's still recognized as that still to this day. It later transitioned to a technical vocational school, and then in 1975 we opened up the Española campus. It was established as a community college shortly thereafter, and then with the help of various legislators from Rio Arriba County and other counties like neighboring counties such as Taos and Santa Fe. The college in 2004 was established as a four-year comprehensive college offering baccalaureate programs. Its primary four-year program being in the College of Education. And the next slide just shows you a little bit about our demographics. Essentially, we serve about 1,800 students every single semester, and you'll just see a breakdown there. More important, I think, than the gender breakdown, which I call out to the left, is certainly the distribution of ethnicity. We essentially 82% of our population are either Native Americans or Latino students, and that's something we celebrate because when you look at percentage of enrollment, our institution has the highest by far of any other four-year institution in the state of New Mexico that represents those two subgroups. The next slide just takes you through our enrollment to show you a little bit about what we've been doing in terms of enrollment. And again, our total head count hovers at 1,800 steadily, and it has done so for a number of years. Some things that have played into that, of course, is the transition from a two-year to a four-year institution, because with that came, of course, a tuition increase and the inclusion of a number of various fees. The next slide shows you a distribution of where we are in terms of enrollment and where locally, for the most part, our freshman class enrolls from. Taos is included in the number of other New Mexico schools, which is a small number. We get the majority of our students, of course, from Española Valley High, which is just about 1.5 miles away from the institution. But one of the goals of some of the outreach that we've been doing here, and we've done presentations also in Los Alamos and the Santa Fe County Commission, of course, we regularly visit our own council, is to talk a little bit about what we can do to create better access for educational opportunities to people in northern New Mexico. Certainly for four-year programs, we know very well that UNM Taos has a very strong presence, and they do a wonderful job providing two-year programs and transfer opportunities, especially to UNM main campus. But for those students, especially those in northern New Mexico who are very place-bound students, who are very tied to their land and their community, their family, who have obligations that don't make it possible for them to leave to Albuquerque or Las Cruces, etc. Northern New Mexico College, of course, is an institution that provides them with a number of four-year degree opportunities. And prior to graduating high school, of course, much like UNM Taos has to offer, we offer a tremendous amount of dual credit programs for students who are in high school beginning their junior year. For those of you that may not be familiar, dual credit is a requirement now for high school graduates. Each student prior to graduating must take at least one dual credit course. And we saw our dual credit enrollment shoot through the roof when that legislation became required by law. So dual credit is another opportunity. We can, of course, offer the courses there on our main campus via distance ed, ITV, or we can actually come into the local high schools and adjunct faculty at the local high school to provide these classes for students if they, for example, may not be offered through UNM Taos. So our goal, of course, is to add, we have Cuesta, for example, is on the list of students that matriculate to our school, but we don't see a lot of Cuesta and Taos and the number of the charter schools participating. So we like to, part of this presentation, of course, is so that you're aware of the institutions should these discussions take place. The next slide shows you a breakdown of our academic programs and where they are in terms of enrollment for our students. We offer a total of 13 baccalaureate degrees, 4-year degrees, a number of associate degrees, certificates, and a total of 4 endorsements. And while we do these presentations to a number of councils, the county commission, city councils, one of the things I like to highlight, of course, is that you all have a number of departments within the city that require a number of professional certifications, ongoing training, continuing education. And one of the luxuries that we have as a 4-year institution that provides 2-year degrees and 4-year degrees is that we can work with you all as an organization to develop the trainings that you need for your departments, for your staff, so that they can sustain the certifications to continue to do the work that you pay them to do. For example, there's a training that was brought to our attention by the city manager in Santa Fe that all of the individuals in the water department need to go to, and they're sending all of those folks down to Doña Ana to do that training. We're talking about how can we provide that for northern New Mexicans here so that they don't have to travel. So that's an example of how the certificate, the 2-year programs, they allow us to respond very easily to the economic development needs, the ongoing needs of not just students but industry. We partner a lot with local casinos, for example, to provide their staff with the business etiquette, the training in simple things like Microsoft Excel and Access that they need, because they don't need to go for an entire degree to move up the professional ladders in their own organizations, but they do need some training, and we provide that for them as well. Finally, we wanted to share with you all some of the next steps for our institution, because I think that where we're going in the next few years provides even more opportunity for neighboring communities and towns and counties like Taos. And one of them, of course, is we're working very hard to earn the accreditation of some of our professional colleges like engineering, education, and business administration, because these accreditations are important as our students seek to transfer to other institutions for master's and graduate degrees or for national certifications. One of the other things that we're doing is taking a very strong leadership role in academic retention. We serve a percentage or a population of students that typically are underrepresented at the post-secondary level. Certainly those who complete a 4-year degree, and certainly those who complete a 4-year degree in 5 years' time. So we've spent a tremendous amount of resources, typically from grant funds, to hone in on what it's going to take first-generation college students predominantly and get them through a 4-year degree in a reasonable amount of time. And third, one of the major priorities for the institution is to develop a residence hall on its main campus, and that's on the main campus in Espanola. One of the comments we consistently get, because we do a lot of recruitment here in Taos and Chama and Dulce, even in the southern Colorado area where out-of-state tuition for them here in New Mexico is much cheaper than in-state in Colorado, is that we don't have a residence hall, and housing is consistently an issue for students who would like to come, especially so since we've developed our athletic programs. We now have men and women's NAIA basketball, and now we have men and women's golf available, and we bring a number of students, some of them as far as Serbia and the Czech Republic, that we struggle with finding housing for. So our goal in the very near future is to develop a residence hall, and what we're looking at right now, because legislation was not successful out of the 2013 session, was to do a local mill levy. What we plan on doing now is a public-private partnership with an entity that might come in, construct the hall, manage it for a period of time, and then, of course, lease it back over to the institution. But one of the primary goals of our president is we will have a residence hall before these guys vote her out, right? So those are just some highlights. We certainly would love to partnership with you on any educational needs that you may have as a town council. In addition to that, as you work closely with public schools, albeit providing space, opportunities, scholarships, or ideas about how they might get an education and remain in northern New Mexico, my contact information is at the very end of your presentation, and we'd love to bring the resources directly to Taos to talk about how we can serve you, how we can be the comprehensive four-year institution of northern New Mexico, because we believe, much like you, that integral to the health of our towns and our counties is that the best and the brightest, they stay there, they get educated there, and then they remain there to work, develop businesses, to create jobs for those who follow in their footsteps.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, and I'll answer any questions.
Sir, Mr. Herrera?
Is this on, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, please sit.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, town manager, I'm just here really for more than anything moral support for Mr. Serna, and hopefully can answer any questions that you might have from the region's perspective. But certainly on behalf of the regions, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for allowing us to come visit with you for a little bit. And I know you have a busy schedule, just reviewing your agenda there. I have had the opportunity of representing you in a previous life. I served on the State Board of Education for a four-year term, and that included this area all the way up to Raton and Aztec and down to Santa Rosa. So I had a big district at that time. My background is in finance, but primarily comes from the education department, because I worked there for 22 years, now retired. And like, if I didn't have anything else to do, look what I'm involved in. I also want to thank you guys for the time that you devote as public servants. I think it's many times a thankless position. Been there, done that, have the scars to prove it. So thank you for the work that you do for the people. I know they appreciate it. We all appreciate it. And you must be doing something right here in Taos. I was telling my wife, every time we drive through the main drag here in Taos, they're doing something right. I don't know what it is. He says, I can go to visit with the mayor when I used to be on the city council. It says, every time I drive through here, see this business popping up here and the other business popping up there. And good for you. I think you all seem to be on the right track. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Herrera. And it was great to serve with you, the various functions that we ran into each other when you were during your tenure in the City Council of Espanola. Sure. Thank you. Any comments?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask just one real quick question? Thank you guys for the briefing. It's very beneficial. I just had one question, and you mentioned accreditation and your desire to obtain further accreditation. Well, accreditation impacts tuition fees. So what accreditation does Northern New Mexico Community College carry right now, and what accreditations are you guys looking to get? Because sometimes the accreditation, when you look at four-year degrees, doesn't always, unless they're going to go into try to transfer into an Ivy League, really it ends up impacting the student based on tuition rates. So I know you guys are extremely affordable based on what you said. The in-state Colorado versus the out-of-state New Mexico is an offset. So what accreditations are you guys talking about?
Sure. Our institution has the same accreditation that every other four-year institution has by the Higher Learning Commission. So the institution is fully accredited. In addition to that, other professional colleges like the College of Education have individual national accreditations like NCATE. Engineering has ABET, and nursing has national accreditations also. So as part of developing those colleges so that they are bona fide among their peers, they move through the accreditation process. And that process is lengthy. Our institution we started awarding four-year degrees only in, I think, 2008 was the first cohort of students that graduated. So we're working closely with the higher education department and other schools like UNM Engineering and UNM, other programs to be sure that we're on track for accreditation. Now, the accreditations oftentimes allow a student's ability to matriculate into a graduate program. For example, in the College of Business Administration, there are many programs in the state of New Mexico that might not admit a student who completed a four-year degree in a program that isn't accredited. So we're working expeditiously to get that done, because we know the quality, the rigor is there, the standards are there, and we just need to have that indication that says it's there. To answer your question about tuition and fees, we don't look at those as drivers for tuition. We were for a very long time the most affordable four-year college in the nation, basically. but we've had to take a hard look at balancing access with affordability. You all know very well how it is to balance raising taxes with being affordable communities. So very recently, we've done what other institutions have done, which is, lean on our students to be able to generate the revenue to provide them with, I'll quote our local paper, the bells and whistles that they might be able to get at a four-year school like UNM in New Mexico State. So we remain among the most affordable four-year colleges in the entire southwestern United States. And at the same time, we're working tirelessly to manage that funding in a way that allows us to give them everything they would get anywhere else.
Mr. Mayor, one last question. So with regards to the transferability, right now, do you guys have a transfer across with University of New Mexico and those guys?
Absolutely. In fact, we actually even have a post-baccalaureate program where our four-year engineers can take up to 12 graduate hours in the engineering program here, and then they're automatically accepted upon completion of those hours, and they transfer over to engineering. We have the same in the College of Education in New Mexico State. We have an Ed Leadership program where they start here and then they transfer, and the goal is to give them the most affordable amount of education possible before they have to transfer over to the larger school. So every single institution, certainly for all of our Gen Ed courses, accept our credits. We accept credits from any other Gen Ed program in the state as well. So the transferability is there.
Awesome. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Peralta.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. And, Northern has been in the Taos community for a long, long time. And we do appreciate the opportunity that is provided for, our children in this community. What is the current status or presence in Taos for, what are you offering and what is the, how well is the population within your institution from Taos?
Sure. Well, we actually have one program that's housed out here that provides GED preparation courses. It's the high school equivalency program that's located here. The main program operates out, but it has a satellite here where we award approximately 24, 25 GEDs every single year to residents of Taos County. And those students, of course, can then choose to move into Northern or here at UNM Taos. For opportunities like dual credit specifically, which is where we have a strong presence in all of these surrounding communities, that first right of refusal by statute goes to UNM Taos. So when UNM Taos may not offer the programs, then the Taos school system could lean on other institutions like ours or even as far south as Santa Fe to bring those programs. We have, so that's where those programs essentially end up at UNM Taos. So we have that program presence, and then of course we have an EOC operations here as well, an Educational Opportunity Center. We have a site here as well where we provide college access services to all individuals above 18. And we don't just provide those services so that they go to Northern. We provide those services so they can go anywhere in the state that they wish for a post-secondary degree. In addition to that, we do have a presence in of course, the Taos high schools and other charter high schools to recruit students to the Espanola campus.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, being that you called on me, I just had a comment. I just want to thank you for all that you've done for our community. And my wife is one of your graduates, and she's been a nurse now for 18 years. Great. And thank to your school and you all for the support.
Well, Councilman, I also oversee the foundation, so we're going to have to contact her now so that she can become a member of our alumni association. We'd love to reel her in, right?
I'll let her know. She actually worked in Espanola for like 16 years and has been here for, well, actually, I take that back. I'm making her older than she really is. She actually worked in Espanola for like 12 years and has been here for 5 now.
Councilor, we place 100% of our nursing graduates, typically all in Northern New Mexico.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the excellent work.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'm sorry. Youth Council Member.
First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for your commitment to the youth in Taos. And secondly, I have a question. If you guys actually attend there's a college fair type thing every year at the high school, are you guys there?
We're there, and we host a very large one also. And one of the things that we're looking at doing, because we have several grants, we have a partnership with UNM Taos too for a very large Title III grant. So what we do is we leverage that funding to actually take schools like Taos High School out into Espanola and other communities so that you can attend larger fairs there as well too. But we have a presence at that fair as well.
Thank you. I would definitely like to see a little bit more of that, and you know, the presence. But thank you for all that you do there.
Thank you.
And as a final, just thank you for your commitment to us.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mayor, one quick comment that I think would be informational, good informational for you all is the fact that we're very student-oriented to the point where the border regions, along with the administration at Northern, proposed legislation this past year, which we've been doing it, I think, for 3 years running now, but we finally got it through and got it signed by the governor. There'll be a constitutional amendment in 2014 to, if it passes, hopefully, to make one of the regions, one of our positions, and there's 5 of us that's appointed by the governor, one of those will be a student rep, a full-fledged border regions member will be a student, so that shows our commitment to the students. And plus, in the interim, we actually have, reminded me now, and I saw the youth council member's title there, we do have 2 advisory student reps now sitting on the border regions, non-voting members. So we're very committed to getting the support that we need from students and being very student-oriented. Again, Mr. Mayor and councilors, thank you very much for the opportunity to come visit with you all. Come visit us in Espanola.
We sure will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the great
Mr.
work.
Mayor, one little comment. Hey, Chief, you might want to keep an eye on the Silva House tonight. Audrey's going to whoop him.
Thank you. Okay. You volunteered.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll go to item B.
I was afraid to comment so I can get deeper into trouble.
Item B, consideration and approval of amendment number 5 to contract TT 11115 with Armstrong Consultants. The amount is $30,941.63 inclusive of GRT. Council members, what is the pleasure?
Move for approval, Mayor.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item C, consideration and approval of resolution 1325 to apply for and accept a grant in the amount of $63,000 for purchase of a moving tractor and attachments for the Taos Regional Airport. The town of Taos match is $7,000. Councilmember Peralta.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to know, is this tractor going to move the airport?
It's a mowing tractor.
It's mowing tractor.
Did I say moving tractor?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I think I'm going to have to put this a little closer.
Close.
You need this one.
Mowing tractor. I keep on refusing to accept the glasses. It's a mowing tractor. I apologize.
And Mr. Mayor, just one thing with regards to John. Thank you for
Actually, some of the people will probably want us to move it. But
stepping up with this grant. I mean, it's nice to get a piece of equipment for $7,000. So,
Thank you. Entertain a motion for approval.
so moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I know this isn't on the agenda, but since we're talking about the airport, John, can you give us a little briefing on the crash that took place at the landfill? The plane crash.
I'm just trying to recycle this.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, town manager. Just a quick briefing. I believe the FAA is still doing their investigation. There hasn't been a definite cause of the crash yet that they've come up with. Mr. Levy, that was flying the airplane, is back home. I did get an email from him Sunday, and I sent out an update to everybody. He is back home and doing pretty well considering the circumstances. I watched as he took off. The engine sounded normal, developing power, climbing as it looked like it should. And I went back in the office, and within 5 minutes, I got a call from dispatch letting me know about the crash. And at that time, with our emergency action plan that includes the Pueblo, that kicked in. The Pueblo was notified, the FAA, the National Transportation Safety Board. Everybody just performed very well getting this information out. The FAA showed up at about 6:30 Friday night, the same day of the crash. I went out and took some pictures to make sure rain didn't come in and disturb the ground track of where the aircraft impacted. It was very fortunate that the crash happened on top of one of the old landfill cells, so it had some flex, some spring to the ground there. It's also covered in wood chips, which probably prevented a fire. He was full of fuel, and fuel was leaking out of the airplane. The fire department put a barrel under the wing to capture that fuel right away so it didn't leak into the ground. Excuse me. And I understand that two of the landfill employees actually saw the crash happen, called it in on the radio, rushed over, got Mr. Levy out of the aircraft just almost immediately, just because of the danger of the fire. You rarely see an aircraft crash with full fuel and no fire. So everything was just very fortunate for Mr. Levy. And as soon as we get results from the FAA, we'll have a better idea of what actually caused the crash.
John,
yes.
Mr. Levy then followed up with an email to everyone, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And he explained that had that crosswind runway been in place, this would not have happened, according to him.
According to him, and because of the wind conditions at the time, when he took off, the winds were favoring runway 4, which is uphill, just slightly uphill. And by the time he made a right turn out, thinking he was flying into the wind to help get a little bit better airspeed, better lift, it just didn't turn out that way. If he was able to take off directly to the east on this crosswind runway that we're working towards, he most likely would have avoided the part of the storm that likely caused him to go down.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay. Next, we will go to item D, San Juan Project Repayment Contract. Consideration and possible approval of contract number 13WC 40512 for the San Juan Chama Project Repayment Contract between the Town of Taos and the United States of America Department of Interior Bureau of Reclamation to lease the use of its 2013 San Juan Chama Project water allocation up to 766 acre-feet. What is the pleasure of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we'll go to item E, Taos Echo Park Settlement Funds. Israel Bales, President of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Welcome, Israel. Will provide recommendations regarding the use of the Taos Echo Park settlement funds. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Town Manager, Youth Council Member. Thank you for having me here today. Again, my name is Ezra Bales. I'm the current president of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and we're submitting recommendations regarding the Eco Park settlement funds. The document that you have before you was written, I don't want to say in haste, but to comply with the Open Meetings Act and some other things. We definitely put it together on short notice. So there may be a couple typos and whatnot, but I believe that the basis of the document is right on and is what we all agreed to. Along those lines, it's not on the agenda necessarily, but I would just like to put out a request that we find some additional members for the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. We're lacking a few members, especially in terms of baseball and football representation. It's something we've been working on over time, and maybe a letter from the mayor or the council as opposed to the president of the Parks and Rec, that might carry a little more weight as well. So at a later date, maybe we can meet and talk about some nominations to fill out our board. So this document that's in front of you, you guys have a copy of this, right? The two-page document is something that we've been working on, Parks and Rec, along with Steve Kennebeck, Doug Patterson, as well as with the Taos Sports Alliance, and we're all kind of in agreement on how we would like to move forward with these settlement funds. We did submit 3 plans on this document. This is not an either-or, though. We believe that these 3 plans can run concurrent with each other, and they all provide a little bit of a different angle on what we might do with these funds. So I'm going to go through them A, B, and C, but like I say, this is not an either-or situation, we don't believe. Plan A is we would really encourage the town to look at 3 main components that need immediate attention, we believe, at the Eco Park. 2 of which are existing operations, I don't know, facilities, whatever you want to call them, in terms of the drainage and the irrigation. We've heard tons of rumors in terms of the irrigation, in terms of what's wrong with it, from someone forgot to turn the water on to all of the pipes are broken. We really believe that we need to find out specifically what is wrong with the irrigation system there and what it would cost to fix it. The same thing goes with the drainage off the shed roof. We're worried that that may be causing structural damage to the storage shed bathroom, but we're not really sure. These are just kind of rumors that we've heard. So it's the recommendation of the Parks and Rec Board that we assess these situations right away and kind of be able to prioritize how much do these things cost, what's the damage of not fixing them, what's the benefit of fixing these things right away. Because we don't really have a good firm knowledge of how much these things would cost, it's hard to say we need to fix this right away, because that may be in lieu of something else that may be a larger benefit to the park. But these 3 items in Plan A, we would say, are the priority, at least to get a handle on how much they cost, how long will it take to fix, and can we do this right away.
Mr. Mayor. Ezra, can you expand on the locker rooms?
Yes, I'll get to those. So as I mentioned, the first 2 are kind of existing, I don't know what to call them, facilities, operational things that are there. The third one, in terms of locker rooms, this is something that is kind of at the request of the TSA, and we agree with. The plan is in August of 2014, so whatever that is, 15 months from now. The TSA has plans to bring in NCAA teams for regular season games, no longer just preseason or showcase games. Part of their, I don't know if it's a requirement, but essentially a requirement is to have operating locker rooms on site where they can shower, meet with their coaches, get taped, all of that stuff, not doing it out of tents. So we would say that that is a priority for the Eco Park to get those things built, especially when we're working on a timeline of essentially having them operational by July of 2014. The procurement, all of that, the building, all of that stuff, we know that that needs to start probably right away. I don't want to say the concern, but one of the concerns is, what does that cost, and do we do that at the risk of not then being able to fix the irrigation or fix the drainage or build a press box or the other things that we want to have there. So again, we just really want to recommend that we get a handle on that as soon as possible. Can we bang these things out in a month and get price estimates and those kinds of things so that we can then prioritize the list and say, yes, let's do the locker rooms, let's do the drainage, or no, this needs to wait until we know that we have the money, that we can do these things. So I really believe this is just a recommendation to get a handle as soon as possible on these 3 items. That would be Plan A. Plan B is one that I think is maybe a little bit outside the box, and so let me just explain what we're thinking of here. We have cash on hand, And we believe that this is a big asset to the town. And we would like the opportunity, both with the Parks and Rec and the TSA, to leverage those funds. We would like a limited amount of time, because we understand that we're on a time crunch here, but we would like some time to have the authority to look to leverage those funds through private foundations or grants in order to increase the pool of money that we have to build out phase 2 of the eco park. I understand that phase 2 is a little bit controversial or whatnot, but I believe that we could take the current park, including what's wrong, incorporate that into a phase 2 design, as well as build out phase 2 if we have the opportunity to leverage those funds. I've done a fair amount of grant writing in my time. When you have assets, as we do, and you can then add cash to that, it becomes a very attractive proposal. And I think it's really important to look at the current assets that we have at the eco park when this is the way that I would like to form this proposal to a private foundation, to a granting agency. The assets that we have is that we have essentially $300,000 cash. We have shovel-ready acreage at the park. We currently obviously have the 2-star FIFA-rated field. We have bathrooms, we have parking, we have all that on site. We have completed architectural plans. We have 3 years of very successful programming that started basically at 0 and now had 15 or 16 NCAA teams, as well as all the club teams, high school tournaments, all of that essentially year-round programming going on at the eco park. We have obviously the high-altitude training opportunities outside of the eco park that people have taken advantage of while they're here training. We have these relationships with the NCAA teams, UNM, DU, Air Force Academy, Colorado College, on and on. So we already have those established relationships, as well as with youth programs, with Native American soccer programs, the Taos Pueblo soccer program, and Southwest Youth Services that host the Indigenous Soccer Cup, which is a Native youth soccer tournament, and then international youth soccer programs, of which Taos Rush is a part of. So we have all of these. We already have a large network of programs. And then obviously bringing the Rwanda national team here 2 years ago. So these are all assets that we can bring to the table when we're trying to leverage these funds for larger funds to finish phase 2 of the eco park.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask one real quick question?
Yeah.
With regards to the leveraging of phase 2, what is that, I guess, encompassing? What do you envision that being? Another sole source soccer field, or is that going to be multi-purpose?
Definitely a multi-purpose field. I mean, I think the one we have now is multi-purpose as well. But yeah, it would be looking at developing a second multi-purpose field, parking, and then what I would do to address some of the first issues is include locker rooms in that phase 2, potentially a press box, a concession stand, some of those other things. So just for example, say the locker rooms cost $200,000. I mean, I'm just throwing a number out there. We could do that now. Or we could include that in a plan, saying that that's going to cost $200,000, but make it part of a $1 million plan, using the $300,000 to leverage that additional $700,000. So we still get the stuff that we talked about in Plan A, but we also get more.
So, hey, one more question, Mr. Mayor. So, with regards to the FIFA rating, which I know costs quite a bit of money to continue to obtain the rating, how does the Parks and Rec Board see that up and coming? Because I know that's coming due, and I know that's part of the attraction of the field is that FIFA rating. But I mean, we're talking to the tune of $100,000 for just the rating. How does the Taos Sports Alliance, along with the Parks and Rec Board, see that as an integration with this? I mean, I know it's tied together, but I think it's quite a bit of money to spend on a rating.
That may be a question more for the Taos Sports Alliance. I'm not totally clear on how that has happened in the past, but my understanding was that that was paid for by the by SportX, I believe. Don't quote me.
Yeah, the original's paid, but
right.
The renewals is up to the user.
Right. Well, except for I think this last one was done by SportX again as well. Right. That may well be part of the plan of the application is to look at all of those costs going forward and saying and budgeting for that. Again, that may be more of a question for the Sports Alliance than for Parks and Rec.
Okay.
It's confusing because we're close together, and entwined, but there are certain things that they deal with that I don't.
Okay.
So I would just ask, I don't know if permission is the right word, but to kind of at least go forward with a plan, looking at foundations, charging the Sports Alliance, and they're on board with this, but also charging Parks and Rec to at least look into those. And I think we could have at least a ballpark answer, not a it's a done deal, but this looks like a plan that may work in 3 to 6 months, in terms of like, hey, there is this foundation, we can address this, and go forward, or absolutely not, this isn't gonna work, we don't meet requirements or whatnot. Then we still have the plan A, where we've been working on getting the cost estimates for the things that we already wanted to do. We haven't lost any time, we haven't lost any money, and we can still go forward with the things that are in plan A. That's why it's not necessarily an either or process.
So, Mr. Mayor, with regards to the Plan A and Plan B, let's say that the cost estimates for Plan A end up being half the cost. I mean, I guess I would essentially see it as a way to leverage the other half. But I think the ultimate, for me anyway, is to see the completion on what we've already started, rather than move forward with the full amount of those funds and do something, completely different with them, and we still haven't addressed the issues.
And I would agree. I think that there is a way to write a proposal that would include finishing parts of phase 1 and just making sure that if we do something tomorrow, it's most likely that we can't use that match any longer in a proposal going forward, because that's already done. Mm-hmm. But if we say we are going to do this with our money, we are going to fix A, B, and C, or however long that list is, as long as we haven't done it yet, in some proposals, not all, you can still then say, okay, that's part of your match. And so you still will get to complete phase 1 and the list of A, B, and C. But you've still leveraged those funds to get additional things. So you're not saying we're not going to deal with this anymore. You're in fact saying we absolutely are going to deal with this. At the same time, we would like to get someone to buy in to the larger plan.
Okay. Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember.
Thank you. Ezra, along with what Councilmember Gonzalez is saying, if you study the town recommendation, in essence, the town recommendation is basically a subcomponent of your recommendation. That estimate is right at $139,000. So let's say it came out to 150. We could easily spend 150 to bring it up to speed, and take the other 150 and use it to leverage it. You agree with that?
Yeah, I had not seen that $139,000
Yeah, but it addresses the irrigation, it addresses the drainage, it addresses the press box, the power.
Okay.
It's a pretty good subcomponent of what you have at a more macro level.
Okay. Okay.
It does.
I
and if you stick around after your briefing, you'll see.
Yeah. Okay. And then again, Plan C is similar to Plan B, and it's just allowing the TSA, who I think is doing really good work, to continue kind of looking at the public-private partnerships in terms of the eco park and operations and maintenance and build out, and just continue keeping those conversations open. That would be Plan C in a nutshell. Again, I think these things can all run concurrently with each other. It's not an either or. They don't exclude each other. It's not something we have to choose from. That's it in a nutshell.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Thank you. Is this recommendation been flushed out? That's the next item on the agenda, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I guess what you're going to see the details on
Okay.
Your, option A.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you throwing out the first pitch tomorrow? Are you throwing out the first pitch?
I think I was invited.
One of us is.
You doing that?
What time is it at?
Noon, right? So the first professional baseball game ever in Taos, I believe, is tomorrow at noon, the Taos Blizzards.
I told him he could go as long as he don't throw a dirt ball.
That's right. Yeah. Pressure's on. All right.
Pressure is on.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Ezra. Okay, next we go to the next item. Steve Kennebeck, Facilities Director, will provide recommendations regarding the use of the Taos Eco Park settlement funds and other initiatives. Welcome, Steve.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Mr. Manager. I believe you've had an opportunity to review my memo. My task, as I understood it, was to come to you with a comprehensive list of items that, in priority, of what I think, in talking with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Councilmember Peralta, Doug Patterson, who designed the Eco Park. I talked with the gentleman who put in the irrigation system and the landscaping. I've talked with our building superintendent, Julie Scansey, about some of the numbers. So what you have is my recommendations in priority order with some very rough estimates of the cost that it would take to put them in. And so the first, of course, is the drainage issue, Councilman Peralta, and I don't know if any of you other gentlemen have been out to see the backside of the building. The roof slopes towards the back of it, and the gutter work needs to be redone and rethought and reinstalled. Then there is the issue of the grading towards the drainage pond, which never got built properly. The rocks are just sitting basically on top of the level surface. It needs to be dug out and graded properly. Then there's the issue of water going towards the field, which also needs to be addressed. So that, in my opinion, is the most important issue to address, so that we save the field from water damage when the rain season comes and get water away from the structure, from the building, and into the drainage pond where it should be. And in talking with folks, it looks like $25,000 is a pretty good estimate of what that remediation would cost. Secondly, the irrigation system that everyone's talked about. I spoke at length with the gentleman that put it in from Lee Landscaping in Albuquerque. His direct quote to me was, it's 99% finished. So what I'm recommending here, in consultation with others, is that we get that gentleman, that firm, back up here, have him start up the system and test it and see where we are. So that's where the $5,000 estimate comes from, is to pay that firm that amount of money to come up and see where we are with it.
Councilmember.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Steve, a couple of things here. The $5,000 is just to get the system tested and,
correct,
if it works, working.
Right. So
running.
Yes, sir.
If there is issues such as the doomsday scenarios that have been thrown about, that underneath the pavement, all the piping is broken and
buried
whatever.
Grading.
Are you recommending anything to the council for a reserve fund to, in case that we have a real problem out there, to be able to pay for that? And I don't see it in your estimate. So let's say a $10,000, $15,000 amount of money reserved to handle any kind of repairs that go beyond what the $5,000 startup.
Correct.
Cost.
No, sir, I didn't put it in here, but there is, as I understand it, $352,000. That's $272,000 in the settlement, and then another $80,000 that's being held in reserve for legal fees. So,
and I understand that, but the reason I'm asking these questions at this point is based upon the previous presentation about recommendations and Plan B, set aside the funds. In our discussion and the discussion I had during the budget hearings with the council was that there are certain things out there that can't wait, need to be fixed.
Yes.
And if we are going to approve the proposed contract to have high altitude sports maintain the field and that whole property for us, we have to give it to them in a condition that they can maintain.
correct.
So I'm just saying is, even though we have that money out there, I think that in your proposal there should be, so that somebody doesn't consider the possibilities that we use the money for, that we're not going to be using that excess money for something else. I want to make sure that in your proposal we're covering all of our bases. So if we don't use it, then it goes into another fund.
No,
for
I understand
other
what you're saying.
uses.
It's just that at this point, there's so many unknowns as to what the condition of the irrigation system is that it's hard to put a number on it. It could be as much as 50,000 if the worst case scenario is true, that the pipes are crushed and the system won't come on. Then much of it will have to be replaced. And talking with Mr. Scott of Lee Landscaping, he thinks it's likely, it's possible, in best case scenario, that it may come on and work. There may be some of the lines that are buried by grading or too shallow because of grading. but they might just need some bubble heads, and off we go. So until he comes and looks, it's going to be very difficult to know. He didn't see the final. I mean, their company got called off the job. He left. So in my conversation with him, he said that some of the grading could have just buried them down too deep, and that would require excavation, more grading. Then your $5,000 could go much, much higher. But I, without knowing that, it's hard to put a number on it.
In your discussion with him, if you remember when we were out there and looked at that area on the hill going towards the road, there was a bunch of wiring and some conduit that didn't go anywhere.
Right.
Did you have a discussion with him as to what that was all about?
I tried to describe it to him over the phone, and it's been quite a long time since he's seen it. He just was not able to tell me what it was. He said without looking at it, he'd have a hard time. And I didn't get the sense that he's trying to just get some business and get back into the job. He just couldn't recall.
Okay. No, I just wanted to know, because the reason I'm asking these questions is because that then kind of leads to trying to figure out what kind of a reserve of funds we need to put in place.
I understand.
To make sure that we can get an operating system to turn over.
The two items on my list that the numbers aren't the strongest on are this irrigation system without knowing the condition it's in. And then there's a lot of room on the $40,000 quote for the locker rooms, because that number is just a structure without restrooms, without showers. So it would depend. So
how big of a structure is that?
It's not very large. It didn't get square footage. I was talking with Doug Patterson, the designer, the architect. It's large enough for it's a rectangular building with a roof and a divider wall in between, with 2 doors and a slab floor. That's what you get for $40,000, and that would be near the existing building so that they can make use of the restrooms. So that's just 4 walls, a slab base, electricity, and a roof.
But you don't remember the square footage?
No, sir. We didn't discuss square footage. Just enough to accommodate 2 teams in the standard locker room style.
And a banana head for a sprinkler system. Well, just because I mean, when you look at the $40,000 cost estimate, that one just blows me away, because if you look at when Taos High just recently did or tried to do their expansion locker rooms behind the seating stands, that estimate came in so far beyond what was comprehensible.
Well, it would have to be designed. So it's just, and I admit that it's low, but not knowing the size, the location, the amenities, until we determine that, the amount. I mean, that's a basic structure. So that's what I was going with.
Mr. Mayor, just along those lines, just one other question for you. Do you know if the locker rooms was a request that was made in Phase 1?
No, it's not.
It was not in Phase 1
sir.
at all?
I think it may even be Phase 3. Mr. Patterson's here. We could ask him.
Mayor and council members, good evening.
Doug, how are you?
Very good, thanks. Just a couple things I have to offer. I think before we can make any decisions about setting aside money or what we're going to fix or what we're not going to fix, I think we just the first step to take is really the assessment of the irrigation system. So I think if we make that assessment, we'll know. And that's something that we can do within a week to 10 days. Right. So I think if as a council, if we can authorize to spend $5,000 to assess the system, I think that's going to get power to the system. That's going to get them to blow out and start up and clean up the system that they have, and then we'll know immediately what's working and what's not working. And part of that assessment, when I spoke to the landscape contractor, part of that assessment would be an itemized list of the things that need to be fixed and what the approximate cost would be to get the system that was designed and paid for to begin with.
And I understand that, and the reason I'm making the comment that I am is that I don't want anybody in the audience to think that there's
only going to take $5,000.
There's a lot of money out there that isn't being budgeted here because we don't know. I mean, and that's the whole point, is that you've got to say, look, there isn't extra money sitting out there yet.
Exactly.
Until we know what's doing. And so even if we said, okay, worst case scenario is $50,000, then, we set that aside so that it can't be looked at for anything else. At this particular point, if we don't use it, then we can release it and you can look at it again. But there are certain things that have to be done immediately fixing the flooding potential that's out there. And also, because one of the things, as you know, is that drainage on that east side off of that building is going to be a structural issue pretty soon if we can't get the drainage fixed there, because that moisture is going to get under the foundation and create problems for us. So we're lucky so far that it hasn't done that, but that luck is running out very soon. But on the other side of that is that whenever we go in to fix these things, I just want to make sure. So let me ask you the question, because Councilmember Gonzalez brought this up too, and that is, what is your estimate to build a bare bones locker room, and what is the square footage that was in the proposed design of that?
So there was never a locker room in any one of the proposals, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It was really brought up as a need by the Taos Sports Alliance. It was kind of on their wish list of things to have at the Eco Park. I think right now we're kind of tossing around, just from the conversations that we're having tonight, we're tossing around kind of two polar opposites in terms of what that locker room is. In my conversations with the Taos Sports Alliance in the past, that locker room included two locker rooms, 2 classrooms, a coach's office, and restrooms and showers. So at that scale, you're really talking about something like a 12 to 1,500 square foot building. When Mr. Kennebec asked me what could we get for a bare bones locker room, in my mind I was thinking a 20 by 20 building with 4 walls and 2 doors, and a partition wall with benches on either side that would allow a team to step in there and
a garden hose to just spray them down
and change and get back on the field. So I think I think we just kind of have to take a step back and see where that wish list is. For me, there's 2 important things to take care of: assess the irrigation and fix the drainage. Those are our 2 priorities. And I think outside of that, I think we can take a step back and figure out what and when to build there. To me, it's going to be a little bit of an iterative process. I think we have to do a set of documents which describes the drainage fix. Put that out to bid and see what the bids come in at. That's the only thing that's the only way to nail down a price of what that's going to be. And we have to do the assessment for the irrigation system and come back with an itemized list of what needs to be fixed. So to me, it's an iterative process. We can proceed with those 2 things and come back to the council in 2 weeks, report with a fixed cost for those things. In the meantime, we could also come back with a proposed plan for what these 2 spectrums of locker rooms are, the minimum, and then what the Sports Alliance is asking for. And then based on square footage, we can actually come up with a pretty good budget number of what we should allocate to what that locker room is. So I think we can take a couple of definite steps, and I think those will answer a lot of the questions that allow us to take the bigger step that we're wishing to take, which is how to allocate the sum of money and spend it to the best interest of the town and in the community.
One thing I neglected to put on the list was architect fees. Actually, I did forget to do that.
Pro bono, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a couple ideas, but before I do that, I have a couple of questions. So, Doug, in your oversight of the construction of this Eco Park, obviously there's a grading plan. We had a civil engineer on board, and we had a grading plan. And what obviously happened is that the grades did not end up at design grade, and that's the reason for the problem.
That's correct. We
We still have that design in hand. So all we really have to do, instead of going and reinventing the wheel, is hire a surveyor to go stake out what the proposed elevation should be. And then what I'd like to offer is that we have in-house within our street department a couple of guys who have the expertise to be able to put those elevations to grade for a minimal cost. We do it in-house. The other thing is with regards to the irrigation system. It's not rocket science. Typically, we had a landscape plan, and I'm sure that they came close to putting it into where exactly we're supposed to go. Nothing is perfect, but I'm going to venture to say that if we go look for those lines, we're going to find them. All right? So if we do that, instead of hiring this company who originally was involved in the installation of the system, why not hire a local irrigation firm, or at least put it out to the local guys so they can have an opportunity to bid on this. Now, again, like I said, it's not rocket science. Once they start finding one end, they can go ahead and run some sort of conductor through that line in order to track and trace those pipes down. And they can go ahead and give that assessment. And personally, I'd like to keep that here locally. All right? And so, again, that's what I have to offer, Mayor and Council, and I'd like you to entertain that.
Okay. Councilman Silva and Mayor Cordova, I agree with you completely. I think, you know, for the grading at the storage building, you know, there's several steps there. We have to step onto the site and remove the cobble that's in the pond. We have to regrade the drainage to actually make it into that pond. We need to take down the gutter and downspout, put power to an irrigation box that's already there, and then replace the cobble and replace the gutter. And those are several sequential steps that are pretty easy to do. And if we have staff at the town and our civil engineers right up the street, I'm right up the street, I think we can come up with a functioning design without putting it out for bid and without necessarily making it a large project. So I think that's a very adequate assessment of what needs to be done there. The irrigation system is a pretty big, complex system, and it's not one that you typically see from an irrigation standpoint. I would say that I would throw out there that maybe instead of saying we spend $5,000, maybe we can actually just ask that irrigation supplier to come up and start up his system, just as part of a startup and testing of a system that he installed. I think that's going to be the quickest point, as opposed to having somebody going out and figuring out what's going on. They installed this system over 6 acres. I think it's close to $50,000 or $60,000 worth of pipe and controls. If we can have them come up and just turn the system on and at least show the town how to operate it, then I think that's the handoff that's required there. And then I know the town, you know, maintains a lot of their own irrigation systems. I would say I think that handoff never happened for the Eco Park system, and I think it's an important piece. It may cost a lot less than $5,000. I would just ask that maybe we entertain the thought of asking that landscaper to give us a proposal of what it would be to come up and start up a system.
And my only fear is that we have this guy come up from out of town, and he has out-of-town expenses, travel expenses. He has to stay here, and so he's going to absorb those dollars a lot quicker than somebody locally could and would. And again, I mean, you have a set of plans, and we have some professional landscaping outfits here in Taos locally. I mean, I'm not going to debate this with you, but I'm just saying that I think that we'd have a better bang for our buck. Not to mention, then we'd have somebody local who then is intimately familiar with that system if in the event we need to have somebody service it. And that's where I'm coming from.
Well, just let me say, Mr. Scott didn't ask for $5,000. He just assumed that as an estimate for what it might cost to get him to come up if he did require money. Maybe we could ask if he just come up and work with a local irrigation company just to show him what he did and maybe pay his expenses up and back and let it go at that.
With that comment, I do have one question, Doug. And did that system, was it altered at all, or was it installed per plan and per your design?
It was installed per plan, per design.
But wasn't the solar bit redone or undone? Or?
That was, so far, the only people that have touched that system is the Lee Landscapes is the contractor out of Albuquerque. They installed that system. And I believe if we let them finish that system, we would also end up with a warranty for that system. Lee Scott is his name. He's been very helpful, and I think he really just wants to see the system complete. And once it's a big project, and he wants to see the town get their money's worth. He's been very helpful, so I've been cooperative. I think in trying to get him to finish the system. We do have plans. The system was installed per plan, and there are qualified landscapers in Taos who could understand that plan and start up and run that system.
Well, there is a lot of value in the warranty, and so that, I mean, you might have something there. The only other question I'd have, and I guess with our settlements with the contractor who did this, and of course this subcontractor was part of the job through that general contractor. Did we not waive, or what you're saying is that because he's going to come and finish, then he'll honor the warranty? I mean, because I thought that's what we were probably giving up some of that warranty. No?
I think if we...
Legal?
We didn't give up anything.
Okay. Fine.
Thanks, Brian.
There you go.
It's a man of few words.
Okay.
So I think both of those are worth pursuing. Again, if we wanted to, before the next council meeting, if we wanted to have an assessment from a local landscaper to go start up and assess that system, I think we could also provide that within 2 weeks. Again, I think it's an iterative process, and I think if we take a couple small steps, we can take a lot of the unknowns out of the equation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, so I think with regards, without beating this horse to death, maybe we can just say that we'll move on with how you've listed out the needs,
Okay.
and proceed from there. Because
So,
I think comprehensively, it's done in order of the way it should be done, at least from what I can see. And then anything else that falls below it, if there's extra, we can always entertain.
Well, then, assuming we get the irrigation working, then there's the issue of the dirt that surrounds the field. I mean, right now it's just dirt, and so you get the irrigation system working, and the weeds are going to come. So, my opinion is we need to plant the grass that was in the plan, the native grass that doesn't take a lot of water. And then I've spoken extensively with Paul Brian Jones, who's an arborist here in town, about the list of landscaping that was in there. It's quite extensive. There's something like 90-something trees. And he thinks that, we could do with less and use trees that are native to the area that will survive better and maybe actually live. So he's very interested in the project, and he's willing to help and recommend to the point where he might need to stand back in case he might want to bid on doing the job himself. But he's been very helpful, and I think that number of 20,000 would probably get us there. It'll get us the native grass planted around the immediate area where the field is, where the irrigation would probably be turned on. I assume it's probably in the zones. And then we put trees in to the extent that it would make it look nice, but not overdo it.
I agree. I think, immediately after assessment of the irrigation, I think we really have to decide what to plant. We basically have almost 8 acres in the middle of the park. And of that 8 acres, we can choose to plant the entry drive. There were some trees and shrubs at the entry drive. The parking lot islands have trees and shrubs in them. There were trees and shrubs along the west boundary of the path where the larger pine trees were. And then there's native seed over the entire area inside the park. So once we have an idea of what's going on with the irrigation system and what works and what doesn't, then we have to figure out what part of that irrigation system to use, because if we decide not to put a lot of that plant material there, we're basically going to cut back and turn off a lot of that irrigation system that was installed and only do what's necessary or what we recommend. So I think within 2 weeks, if we can do the assessment, we'll know where we're at, and then we can come back to the council with a plan of what we're going to plant and what parts of that irrigation system we're going to use. And then that will be able to actually estimate and price exactly what that's going to cost.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, going along what Councilmember Gonzalez said, the town's plan or recommendation of items 1 through 9 in order of priority, with the exception of item number 9, we remove the sign and not repair it. Item number 10 would become Plan C of the recommendation by ERSRA. Item C would be ongoing, period. And the beauty of this is we take the $300,000 of settlement funds, the $82,000 of non-paid funds, and we use all $382,000 in this order of priority to bring that Echo Park up to the maximum level that we can with the availability of funds. And so I think we have a roadmap. We just need to do some further analysis, and we're starting to beat the horse to death, as the council member said.
So, Oscar, what is your recommendation?
Yes, sir. Given the input I've received tonight, I'd like to recommend, the Parks Board recommended the town's plan, the town staff plan, plus 2 other options. And so what I'd like to recommend, given the input I've seen here, is one of those options with some modifications. And that is somewhat the Plan B, so that if you could give us a budget, say you've heard here that the top 2 items are the most critical, the issue of drainage, and then we would hold the other money, if you will, sort of in a savings for 4 months. You think that would make a difference here for 4 months, and in that period, the Parks Board could then use that money to get a match or get a grant, if you will, to match with this to complete the rest of the work that needs to be done, plus some other work. We're thinking, or at least the advice I'm getting from Mr. Bales here, is that in a couple of months, we'll know really if there's any possibility. And I guess at that time, if we get that signal, then we'll just go ahead and continue with the plan we have here, so well before the construction season ends. So that would be my recommendation. So I guess if you could just add to that, Council, what do you think that budget would be? What do you, at this point, I'm looking at something in the neighborhood of some $50,000-$60,000, the top items, and then with the idea that in 4 months, if this thing doesn't come through, then all the rest of the money then just goes into the completion of the park per the plan that you have here.
The item doesn't say approval. Did you want to bring that up at a later meeting for approval?
Yes, sir. At this point, really, if you don't indicate to me that that's a problem, we can go forward. At this point, there's no budget amendment. There's no contract nothing formally for you to approve. Along the way, if it so happens that, for example, we have to approve a grant or the application of a grant, et cetera, that'll be okay. And so the reason I was saying up to $50,000 is that stays within the amount that we have to that doesn't have to be brought to the council. It can be approved by the mayor.
Okay. Council okay with that? Okay. Let's move on. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay.
The next item, G and H, I'm going to address those since they pretty much one leads to segues to the other. So we'll have item G, and then we'll go into consideration approval by the council to close Civic Plaza Drive. So we'll start with G, staff briefing regarding traffic and crowd management.
Yes, sir.
The Mumford and Sons concert.
So what I'd like to do is pass out a draft of the map that we have so far of the plan. And so, based on your input, it's still a draft. Based on your input, we'll modify this map, we'll finalize this map, and our intent is for this map to serve as the basic communication device, if you will, for people coming to town and people in town, whether they're spectators or people just visiting, not necessarily for the concert, et cetera. And so that they can see this online. Very good. Excellent. All right, so we're going to try something new here as well. New technology here as well. All right, so anyway, I'll point out to you what you see on the map. First of all, I want to point out to you that this map was developed with input from our police department, our fire department, our public works department, also with input from the promoter, who by the way, Dan Sherman is in the audience in the event you have some specific questions of his plan. We've also talked to the Chamber of Commerce. Early on, we asked them to work with us to organize whatever would happen at Civic Plaza Drive, and they've come through and they're working with us on this. So anyway, so the input, so this document then serves as everyone's input there, and again, it's still a draft. So if I may begin from north to south, if you look on that map,
Oscar, on your map,
the other way around.
Oscar, on your map, I'm noticing that you have a closure of 12 p.m. to midnight, all the blue. And I'm seeing the main road, Highway 68, Paseo del Pueblo Norte, shows closed. Have we received NMDOT approval for that?
We've gotten a verbal at this point. We have submitted a request. Obviously, if the council doesn't want to go forward with that, we can pull it back. But verbally, they said, okay, but your council needs to.
What is the rationale to close the whole street?
Because we believe with that crowd, Mayor, that we could not guarantee people's safety. Big vehicles, even just pedestrian vehicles coming across there with the big 8, possibly up to 11,000 people walking across Paseo. So we are recommending here that as a very basic measure, perhaps one of the most basic elements of this plan is that that part of Paseo be closed. And I want to point this out. I mean, so maybe we'll start out that way instead. First of all, we're recommending that if we do close Paseo, that there be a diversion route so that people can go completely around Taos. And for that, you're seeing that red line on Blueberry Hill. And thank you, Ruben. You're doing it there. So people coming from the north will see the signs, et cetera. And if they want to go around Taos and they have no business or are not thinking of coming to Taos, they can go around Blueberry Hill and then come out on Paseo Sur. If you are coming into Taos, the first thing you're going to see then is if you look at that inset, that map at the very that small map at the top, you'll see a first checkpoint, and that's in yellow. Yes, and that first checkpoint, that's in yellow. At that point, at the intersection of Camino de la Placita and Paseo del Pueblo Norte, there would be a traffic diversion point. Really, we'd be telling heavy traffic that heavy traffic is closed from that point forward, and we'd be sending them on Camino de la Placita. All right, now internal traffic or local traffic would be allowed to proceed a little bit further, at least all the way to the hotel be able to get to the hotels, for example. And they would not run into a hard stop until just past the Yucca Plaza. And the reason for that is that Yucca Plaza also serves as an entryway to Cleveland Lane. And so in the event that we have emergency vehicles that need to get in there or out of there, they'll be able to proceed from that point. So that part that you see blue after the black, the part that you see in blue, all the way to the intersection of Kit Carson and Camino de Paseo del Norte, all that would be closed to all traffic. It would be only pedestrian traffic. Now, by closing that, we, in essence, are closing Bent Street, Martyrs Lane, and we are purposefully, and we're recommending to you another basic element of the plan here is to close Civic Plaza Drive to serve as the, if you will, the staging ground for the crowds that would be gathered there, we think, at least a couple hours before they go in. And then also, as we're understanding what might very well be happening as well, is that there will be at least hundreds of people that would be gathering there even during the concert. I myself, for example, have been invited to two different concert parties a couple blocks away from there. So apparently there would be a lot of people that are planning to listen to the concert outside. And so we just thought it was very important to provide a place for those people to go, lest they be everywhere else. So now, what you see also at the very bottom, you see everything in blue. You also see the plaza. Now, this piece of the plan was not in place until just this afternoon. It was not originally on our plan. It was not originally our plan to include to close the plaza, precisely for what you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, that it would take a diversion of resources to go there, et cetera. Plus, there's just some other issues that go there. But we were hearing from the merchants here that there was interest in there being events there, entertainment events or different cultural events. And so with that, we said, well, if that's the case, then there's going to be a lot of people walking across those streets with a lot of traffic going through there. And so if that's the case, then we would recommend that it be closed. But even so, what I did is I asked the merchants here, at least the Arts Cultural District and the Taos Plaza, the Taos Project people, that if it was their intention that this thing be closed, then I needed that in writing. They needed to specifically request that it was not going to be an automatic piece of our plan, that we did not need that piece in order to be safe and to handle traffic. So I got that request today. And so that's why that piece is there. Now, subsequent to that, I've been hearing from other merchants there that they do not want it closed, and that's what you've heard later today. But I would point out to you that is not a critical piece of it, of our plan. The critical pieces here are, one, the closure of Paseo, the closure of Civic Plaza, Martyrs Lane, and Ben Street. And we'll be making arrangements for people who have businesses there or who have reasons to be there during the day, that they can access their establishments or their abodes while all of this is happening. But anyway, that's what you have here. In terms of the parking, that's a very important piece here. We have been working with the promoter for parking. We've established that with the parking that's available now in the historic district, plus other areas that have been secured at this point, have now been secured anyway, for parking, including the balloon, what's commonly known as the balloon staging grounds, and the county's, the land that surrounds the county courthouse, and then the parking lot around the school. We believe that will provide enough parking combined with all of the other parking that we're very much expecting to be brought online by the hotels. So if people are staying in the hotels, and we are getting a lot of indications that the rooms are filling up, then we're assuming that if people come to the hotels will provide parking for them. We're also expecting for there to be the big event effect where people who have places to park will then offer those spontaneously to the public for a fee. Those of you that have ever gone to an NFL game or a Major League Baseball game, you'll see all the neighbors doing this, and we're hoping that happens as well. We welcome that, and we're certainly working with the Chamber of Commerce for that to happen. Now, what that means then is that there won't be any parking further south of there. We will be running buses that will be taking people primarily from the high school, which is the furthest point away, a bus that will be circulating continually up to the historic district, bringing people up there. But the promoter assures us that people who go to concerts could very well expect to walk at least this distance to get to your parking. In fact, I've been to a couple of NFL football games where from one end of the parking lot to the other, the parking lot was at least twice this distance. Let alone what this is going to be happening. But anyway, you also see on this map porta potties. Where the porta potties are going to be, we'll be strategically locating trash bins. There have been some requests for recycling, for there to be some recycling capabilities. We're going to look at that, the possibility of that, and just to the extent that we can. As you can imagine, more cans means more machines moving those things around, and that just concerns us a whole bunch that there be. We want to minimize the number of machines that are out there among the crowds. Now, so this closure plan, so what we were recommending to you here is that we make these closures from 12 o'clock noon until 12 o'clock at night. And by that means allow everybody to come to stage, go to the event, and then afterwards depart all in peace. And we believe that this will work, especially given the crowd. This is we expect it to be a very, relatively speaking, a very cooperative crowd, very mature, a mature crowd anyway. Yeah, very calm crowd. And so that's what we put here in front of you. I heard this evening already that the plaza is out, and so the map that will be going out will not include the plaza. There's some other things to be filled in here, and I'd love to get your input now or in the next couple of days, so that when this thing goes online, after this, when we're done with this, we'll post this map on taos.org, taosgov.com, and at the taosnews.com. We'll also publish this as an insert in the Taos News newspaper. We'll make these maps available at all the hotels, at the parking lots, etc., so everybody knows what all it is. I wanted to bring it to you here so that the public would know about this. I have been getting a lot of calls, a lot of suggestions from people about what to do in an event like this, and so I wanted to allay everyone's concerns that we now have a handle on it, working closely with the promoter, working closely with public safety, And so we think that we can pull off this event with, in good shape, that everyone that comes will feel good about it, and that the local people will feel good about it as well. Staff, for any questions?
Before we go to questions, the only thing we can act on is closure of Civic Plaza Drive. That's the only thing that's on the agenda for formal action.
That's what we posted as a leader. I'm thinking, though, that if what's in front of you is the plan, if you indicate to us that the plan is acceptable with whatever amendments you make to it, that will be, we have enough standing anyway to be able to close, for example, Ben Street. But, for example, in the case of Ben Street, if we close Paseo, Ben Street is effectively closed. It's a one-way leading out of Paseo. So basically, from that point forward, all the traffic that could come through there is done. Civic Plaza definitely closes that. The only piece that might be, I guess, in question here, Councilor, would be a Marta's Lane that's in the middle, and Plaza. Well, I guess at this point, it's not even part of the plan anymore.
Council members?
Mr.
Questions? Councilmember Bate.
Thank you, Mayor Cordova. Oscar, thank you very much for an excellent plan. You got all the key stakeholders involved. I think it's an excellent plan. The fact that we're not going to close the plaza is a good thing. There's many merchants there that pay monthly lease costs, they pay utilities, and to bring in other events to detract from their potential to sell goods wouldn't be fair. So we got to enable these small businesses that pay day to day, pay the fees of being in business, to reap those benefits and not bring in other events that are going to detract from that. Plus, parking is rare, and that parking needs to be used. So thank you. I support the plan fully, with the exception of not closing the plaza.
Councilmember Peralta.
Oscar, I have an issue with closing Paseo for that long a period of time. I really think that the period of time in which that needs to be closed would be probably an hour to an hour and a half prior to the event and an hour after the event to move traffic in and out of there. But to close off Ben Street, to me, is the same thing as a plaza. That is a corridor by which tourists get into the plaza and get into Ben Street, and to cut them off, I think is a disservice to them, just as it would be a disservice to the people on the plaza, and also in that corridor along Paseo Pueblo North. One of the other things we have to consider too, in looking at your map here, is that Bedford, Cleveland, and Hyde Street, by closing out Civic Plaza Drive, a couple of those streets dump into Civic Plaza. What is how do we intend to handle the people that live on those streets and enable them to get in and out of their properties for that period of time?
In the same fashion that we intend to allow people to get into, for example, Marta's Lane, et cetera. If you live there, if you can show us that you live there, that you have a reason to go there, then they will be allowed there. Another part is just notice. A lot of these are businesses that if they stock up, if they come in before everything is closed and are able to operate from that point forward, we can do that. But I do want to just point out a fact which I understand you appreciate completely. It's just that 8,000 people, even 8,000 people, descending on a concentrated space like that, even for a couple of hours, will present to us, we fear, is a significant public safety exposure at that intersection in front of the park.
But this is not much different than the fiestas. And the numbers we get from the fiestas can be up to 20,000 in a day. So these numbers are not that much different. And we don't do that much closure for the fiestas. And we're not having that kind of an issue. So I'm just saying I do see the need to do some closure, because you're going to dump people after the concert, truly, in one dump, they're all gone, which doesn't happen during the fiestas, but still, you're not going to have that same sort of thing going into the event. It'll be spread out a little bit more, not that much, but some. So that's why I'm saying I can understand closure, but not necessarily for 12 hours.
I have to agree with Councilman Peralta. I do have issue with closing the Paseo, the Pueblo Norte there. I'm concerned with what's going to happen with the traffic utilizing Lund, Valverde, Don Fernando. I think we're just going to impact those to a level that is not going to be good. I feel that some closure is justified, but to close it for 12 hours is a bit much.
Mr. Mayor.
I wanted the police chief here to also address the questions that you have about how we would get people, local traffic, if you will, people who have businesses in some of the streets are going to be affected, how they get in and out.
Honorable Mayor, council members, Mr. Manager, Ken Koch, your police chief. A couple of issues, if I may. We were tasked originally with coming up with a traffic management and safety plan that included a closure of the plaza with events beginning at noon, leading up to the concert at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. That means enticing a crowd into that downtown area and having pedestrian traffic, similar with the fiestas, that would basically migrate from south to north. And that was the reason for the closure, or the recommended closure, during that time period. Based on your recommendation here tonight, if the plaza is not to be closed, that still will mandate some kind of law enforcement presence, simply because of the increased numbers in population that will be present downtown leading up to the concert. But it certainly will not require, in my opinion, as much of a closure of 64 for public safety, because we will not have an enticing event that's bringing a mass into the plaza to attend concerts and those kind of things. It'll be a normal shopping day, more or less, just with an increase in population. Relatively easy to manage, in my opinion. I would ask you to consider, however, the importance of closing, in my opinion, Civic Plaza, Martyrs Lane, and Bench Street is directly related to the diversion of traffic going northbound and southbound on Placitas. For every artery that you have allowing vehicular access onto Placitas, as we're diverting that traffic during a closure of 64, you are creating a backlog of additional traffic having to stop and yield the right-of-way as they come out of the plaza onto Placitas, for instance, or off of Ben Street or off of Civic Plaza onto Placitas. We now have a mandatory stop and go instead of a free flow of traffic. And those roadway blockages, in my recommendation, would be accomplished through a full physical roadblock through the use of cement K-rails or something similar that would not have to be manned by an officer. It's what we call force multipliers. They ensure foot traffic can get around. We plan for emergency vehicle access in and past those barriers, but no vehicle traffic can get around those barriers, nor can someone simply move them if they don't want to obey with the traffic direction, which invariably happens in these kind of crowd control events. So that's really another reason for the recommendation, not only the need for the pedestrian access to the park, specifically to Civic Plaza, Martyrs Lane, and Ben Street, but also to make more efficient, if you will, the rerouting of traffic on Placitas during the closure of 64 at the time of the event. Stand for any questions.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, I just had a real quick question. Ken, with regards to the flow of traffic, I guess my concern would be the major timeline as to how many hours we're actually shutting it down, and I'd rather see the continuous flow of traffic with regards to, I mean, the lights are what cause a big part of the problems in that downtown area, and the infrequency of how they turn and at the rate that they turn. So my suggestion would be is to maybe put an officer, you know, at the light areas with regards to just controlling the light traffic. With regards to that, maybe a few hours up and leading to the event, that's when traffic starts to seize, and then that's when we're able to better take control of the pedestrian traffic. The problem I have is that I seriously don't see 11,000 individuals just out and about walking around waiting for this concert. They're going to be driving around, and if we create the bottleneck cluster for the day-to-day, I mean, we still have people that are in business that need to operate the business between the hours of 12 and at least 5. And that's my biggest concern, is the impact as to what we create. I mean, it is a magnitude event, but I mean, alongside with the safety of the pedestrians, we still have to look out for the viability of the businesses here.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Gonzalez, I agree wholeheartedly. Those are issues that we had of concern as we started this project when it was handed to us. If the direction is not to close the plaza, that certainly frees up a great deal of our concerns, if you will. We don't have to worry about businesses being stocked that morning by the semi-trucks that are coming in to provide the food and the drinks and the things that they need on a daily delivery basis. We don't have ADA compliant issues that we have to accommodate because there's access now to the plaza that's fully granted. There's really two issues to consider here, and it really relies on the promoter. And I understand there are some limitations there based on demands of the artists, but if you don't open the gates until 6, then you have a larger mass of humanity arriving downtown to stand in line and wait for access. If you open the gates at 4, there's going to be a much more managed arrival of that mass of humanity. There is nothing at the end of the concert. You're going to have 8,000 people exiting one way out of that park, and it leads right on to 64. That is a huge public safety concern in my professional opinion. It requires a planned closure of that roadway because that roadway will turn into a sidewalk. No doubt about it.
I agree that during the, first of all, I think this is great that this is happening in Taos, and kudos to the promoter for making this happen. I think it's great that we're going to be hosting this. You know, we've done this before as far as crowd management for the fiestas. You know, it's a different situation, but during the parade, there's 20, 30,000 people that migrate specifically to a street, not to a destination. They migrate to the street, and we close it an hour before and keep it closed during the duration, and then an hour during, you know, it closes again. Actually, it doesn't even close. It opens up immediately, and you have 20, 30,000 people virtually in the street. I'm not saying it's the best plan, but that's what we've done. So I don't agree with closing Paseo for 12 hours. I think we have to have a more plan that addresses specifically the concern that you're talking about, and that is when they're going as an influx into the event, and then prior to the event finishing, then we have to have a planned closure for that street as well. So I just think that we're going to, for that whole day, we're going to create more of a traffic mess if we close Paseo that early. Councilmember Peralta.
I just had one other question, Oscar, and that is concerning the park and ride. Are you planning to run the park and ride from noon forward into the downtown area?
Yes, sir.
Or is it going to be just 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon?
No, from noon forward. There's a couple of things we're trying to achieve here. One is just to be safe and get people there. But also we want to make sure that of the 8,000 people who come here, that they will go away with a very positive impression, a very positive experience of Taos. That is to us a big broadcast experience, if you will. And so we want to open up the parking lots at noon, and then immediately thereafter start the shuttle, assuming that people are going to be arriving at that time. And so I would confess that we are giving ourselves a lot of margin here, a lot of margin for the crowd arriving a little earlier, or the crowd being a little bit bigger, et cetera. But we think it's warranted given the impact that could come from this. 8,000 people come who would otherwise not have considered coming to Taos, who will come for this one event and maybe on the side look at Taos and be our guests for that time, and from that point on leave and tell the world how it was here. And we just think it's worth giving ourselves the room here to maneuver so that when they leave, it was all a very positive event. It's short of.
Just on that same note, though, I just thought of something else, and just a question, because I think it's a good idea that we do the park and ride since noon, even considering my concern about the closure. I think that's a good idea, and I think it works well. My question at this point is, and this would be part of the marketing for that event, and that is, what are the drop-off points for those individuals taking the parking lot into the central business district in a sense?
Well, depending on the plan that you approve tonight, those drop-off points would be at Civic Plaza or around where the Civic Plaza Drive, around where the fire station is, Rio Grande Hall, for example. And the pickups, at this point we haven't settled completely where they are, but one at the school and then the other one being in front of the county courthouse. Exactly where that's going to be, if it's going to be in the parking lot or on Paseo, we haven't exactly established that. But the whole idea is then to take them forward. We think that during the day, there will be a lot of people that will just walk there. But we're not going to just assume that. We'll make it available. We think it will also be an opportunity to just inform people about where things are, how things are, et cetera, and also to give them this map. I would ask you, Council, if it seems that 12 to 12 is too much of an extended period, that you would consider, perhaps a later time to close, but to close Paseo at that point. But the last thing we need as a marketing event, that there was some mishap, that there's something, or even a close call there. And so, anyway, that's what we're recommending to you strongly, that there be some closure of Paseo during this event, well before and as well as after.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I agree that we need to have a closure. I just don't know that it should start that early, and we would have to come up with some compromise as to how early we do close it. But also, I would suggest that up until maybe 5 o'clock in the evening, that the drop-off point be the plaza or Bench Street. And that way we dump the people into the commercial district and let them go. And then if they want to walk from there into the park, they're already there. But if we take them all the way to Civic Plaza Drive, it's going to be, I would think, inconvenient for them to walk back to the plaza. So just my suggestion is that we take them from the parking areas and create a drop-off point on the plaza or on Bench Street to bring those people in, so that they have that opportunity to visit our downtown area. And then from there they can migrate to the park. And then at 5 o'clock everybody goes up to the entrance of the park or Civic Plaza Drive, and that's a drop-off point there.
And you would say that the drop-off point would be on Paseo? Because we were thinking by this point, all of the drop-off points would be on Placitas.
So the park and ride would be on Placitas?
Yes.
Why would you want to drop them off in the center of all of that traffic that you're diverting to Placitas?
Camino de la Placitas, just to be very precise, yes, as I said, around where the fire station is, where the Rio Grande Hall is, maybe where the parking lots are. If you guys think that that extra blocks would be that important, we would drop them off.
No, what I'm saying is that if you're going to close off Paseo del Pueblo Norte, that would be ideal for your transports to come up that street and drop off right there at the park. And then that doesn't get into the traffic problem that you're going to have on Placitas, because all the traffic is going to be going down Placitas or up Placitas.
Oh, I would defer that to the chief. First of all, it would be the question of getting around those blockades. First of all. Second of all, just the idea of a bus moving around, a lot of people that will be walking around, I would defer that to our public safety experts.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Peralta, the direction that we've received here from you tonight has significantly changed our plan. Quite frankly, not now having to have an all-day event where it starts on the plaza, has vendors on Civic Plaza Drive that are selling wares throughout the day. Having that removed significantly changes the entire public safety plan. We would have to go back, not necessarily to square one, but originally the plan had our public transportation coming up through the back streets from the county complex onto Kit Carson, coming into the square area of Kit Carson, and then turning south, dropping right there at the plaza. That would be a one-way street in the plan you have before you now. And then they would head back down south towards the county complex, pick up another load, and basically we had a looped route already identified. With the changes you're suggesting here, obviously, we'll have to re-identify those locations. And I understand your point, and we were not identifying only Placitas as a drop-off point for this transportation system, but it certainly would be a drop-off point for folks who wanted to go to that area, either because they parked at Town Hall or because they were camping at Enos Garcia. All of those kind of things had to be considered. So there were drop-off points on Placitas identified, but they were not our only identified drop-off points.
Curious.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember
Oscar,
Abeta.
the concert's at 6. What time are they going to open the gates to the concert?
To get that information directly,
The band initially told us 6, and we planned on opening the third of the park at 3:30 to get some of that foot traffic off Placitas, or off Paseo. Quite frankly, with 8,000 tickets sold, and these are 8,000 pedestrians when they're walking around here. Admittedly, not all 8,000 will show up between noon and 3 o'clock, but I'm expecting 3,000 or 4,000 to show up before 4 o'clock. So then we're still going to have another 4,000 people showing up between 5 and 7. The concert starts at 7 with the first band, 7 to 7:30, and the second band on. The headliner goes on at 9 to 11.
And Mr. Mayor and folks, let's remember that this is a general admission concert with no assigned seats. Right. So people are deliberately going to show up early to be in the front, to stand in the front, and we haven't accounted for that. And that's the reason that the main road has to be shut down. Now, I agree with you folks that maybe the hours could be adjusted slightly, but we're going to have 4,000 people lining up to get the best standing seat possible since 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2, 3. It's not going to be at 5 we're all going to show up to the gate and just walk in. It's going to be and I personally think, I don't know where you folks are getting your numbers for the fiestas, and I'm not contesting them, but I actually think these numbers sound bigger than the fiestas. But who knows? I don't want to start a debate on that either.
Okay, any other comments?
Well, just with regards to that, Chief, where is the lineup starting point, Ron? I guess where are we looking at this happening as far as the staging area for all these people to be prior to, I guess, entry? Because I mean, there's got to be some type of crowd control system too, so that there's not a bum rush at 6 o'clock.
Well, the starting point for the line, Dan Sherman, concert promoter, the starting point for the line will be inside the main gate of Kit Carson Park. And we plan to have, we figured we could take 1,000 people, maybe 2,000 inside the park at that time. But we're still left over with the problem of we got 6,000 left over. And they're going to spill out onto Paseo, and the sidewalk's not very wide there. I mean, they're going to go, probably, most of the traffic's coming from the south. So they'll be coming up there, whether on foot or by bus, and they're going to end up on the street.
So I guess Mr. Mayor, my question, my concern is that if they are lining up along Paseo, what are we doing for crowd control? Couldn't we do a 6-foot temporary fence between the sidewalk and the roadway itself to contain that traffic and allow the line to start, through there and contain them within that?
Just the sidewalk and the sidewalk's only 3 or 4 feet wide.
Well, sidewalk, and then you have the additional 3 feet worth of bike lane.
That's not big enough.
Or put them in the TCA parking lot.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Gonzalez, that option was evaluated between French and I and our interim fire chief. It is certainly an option we can consider. I guess from our standpoint, we were planning for the worst and hoping for the best. With what you've given us here tonight, I fully agree and support your suggestion that we do not have to close 64 for this time period, given the changes that have been directed here tonight. But I would respectfully submit that if you have that barrier up and it goes down and we're not prepared to close 64, we're looking at a potential disaster. I would much rather be in a position with a pre-planned shutdown ready to implement as soon as that crowd starts spilling out onto the street as a response to crowd control rather than trying to drastically react to something we no longer have control over because they're not respecting our orange barrier. I cannot in good faith recommend that option.
Well, I guess the reason I look at a standpoint like that, Mr. Mayor, is we've all attended functions like Disney, for example. Their crowd control barriers are literally back check lines. And, I mean, you're not supervised in those lines. And, so I guess it's hard for me to imagine, how people wouldn't be able to contain themselves. You're going to have, obviously, the ones that won't. But at the same point, I still don't see how we can have a better form of crowd control besides just blasting them out, all over the streets. To me, it just seems. I think that would create a bigger problem for PD than it would, for anything else. Because now you have a spotted area where people and issues are happening, as opposed to a contained area. For example, the TCA parking lot.
Councilmember Gonzalez, just for my clarification, are you speaking about at the egress at the end of the concert when the crowd is leaving, or
ingress?
Okay.
Yeah, egress. I fully agree. Let's get them out of there in the fastest, most efficient way possible. It's the ingress that I'm more concerned with, because that's the operation of daytime business hours, the heaviest flows of traffic. You see what it looks like out there now. There's absolutely nothing going on.
Although it is important to keep in mind here that 11,000 or say 8,000 people coming to town is a big business opportunity to anybody there. And they will likely see foot traffic and business that will well take up, would take weeks perhaps for them to see, with just this crowd being there.
Well, and I guess my concern, Oscar, isn't just so much the pedestrian downtown, it's the outlying businesses everywhere else.
So, hold on one second. Now, how long does the concert go to?
It goes till 11.
Till 11.
From 7 till 11.
7 till
That's
3
the
hours.
music period of it.
I mean, I think a compromise here is closing it down at 4 o'clock till it ends.
During the show, there's
12.
not going to be a lot of people on the street.
Till 12 o'clock.
Till 12.
Yeah, till 12. Yeah.
Right, correct.
I mean, I think that's a...
I still think that effectively the plaza is going to end up being closed just by gridlock. You put 200 cars in there, people from out of state driving around, it's done, it's closed. Where they got no place to go.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask one question of the promoter on this, and that is, how many out-of-town tickets have been sold and how many are
Over 6,000.
So only 2,000 in the residence?
Not even that. I believe the local count here was about 600.
Really?
Yeah, in Taos County.
Okay.
We sold tickets in 50 states, and I can give the council
Oh, no,
the
I
zip
understand.
codes for
I
those.
understand. I'm just trying to get the idea as to saying that, if 2,000 were sold here, it's a difference in the math that we look at as to how many people are going to be downtown. And if we've got, potentially 7 to 11,000 people downtown, that's the reason I'm saying is that between the hours of noon, whenever you start running shuttles, till 4 o'clock, when you then really start running shuttles, we need to get those people into an area that they'll open their wallets.
Oh, absolutely. Our idea was to push the foot traffic and the flow of most of these concert goers into the plaza area, into Ben Street, and give them something to do while they're waiting around. They can have their friends wait in line for them, which will probably happen, but that still frees up. Everybody comes in 2s and 4s to these kinds of events to wander around and do things. Our worst fear is that the tickets that we sold in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, that there's a couple, 2,000-3,000 of those too, will leave work at 5 o'clock and expect to get up here at 7 o'clock, which isn't going to happen. So we've been pushing out to all the people that bought tickets on email blast directly to them through Ticketmaster to get here early, along with these maps for parking and things like that. And hopefully they will.
Well, hopefully they'll go to the parking lots down south and not
That's
try to
what
get into
we're
the
going to
plaza.
try to direct them. We want to keep the cars out of downtown. We're going to keep them down there at the other parking lots.
Yeah, make sure you make some big signs.
Yeah, oh, yes. We'll be trying everything. The other thing I do want to add here is that your marketing staff, we're also working with the county. We're trying as hard as we can to get people to get here earlier and stay later. These are people. This is a major economic event, and if all we do is make it such that they come here quick and leave quick, then we will not have maximized this opportunity. And so, our hope is that a lot of these people will come here early and begin consuming, spending early, and might maybe even stay the weekend. We are changing around at least some of the Chamber of Commerce's events. For example, the Taos Plaza Live, precisely to try and entice this. There are some of the other venues in town that we're reaching out to them to see if they can also schedule events that will allow some of these people to stay in town. So that might be another reason, perhaps, why you're not going to have this sort of this precise arrival,
I have one other question, and that is concerning how many people from north purchase tickets?
I believe it's around 1,200 out of Colorado.
So we're going to ask the people from Colorado to come through town to the southern parking lots. I'm wondering if we should try to do something north.
Well, the parking that we have right now is Enos Garcia and Guadalupe.
It's not enough for 1,200.
Well, yeah, it'll hold 500 in Enos Garcia. We measured it.
But how are they going to get there with the traffic?
Well, they're coming in and they come down Placitas, right?
But that's going to be, you can walk down the street faster than the cars will be able to go through there.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And just something to think about, if there was some way that we could pick those people up on the north side and bring them in.
As of yet, I have yet to find a parking field or any place on the north side of town.
What about
the reason I'm saying this, though, is that because a lot of the parking areas that you're talking about, many of the merchants and their employees use those parking lots.
Right.
So they're not going to be 300 to 500 available during that time period. There's going to be some, no question about that. But I'm just trying to look at another possibility here of helping out our potential customers.
Councilman, what we could do, I mean, again, we are betting a lot that people will open up their or offer their parking lots for sale, for lease, anyway, for money. And so we're hoping that happens, right? And frankly, if the only parking that it will be available to them are the ones that we can provide, we don't have enough of that. But what we could do north is designate a pickup spot for a bus up north, because there are a number of businesses out there. I'm assuming are going to put out their sign and saying, parking all day for $10 or wherever it's going to be, and then maybe what we could do is just facilitate that by offering a bus pickup spot, and then bringing them down south.
Right. My concern with parking way far out north was that at the end of the show, how are we going to get 1,500 people back out north all at once? It could take 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's a long walk. I mean, I don't know how far, to the solar center is out there. Well, that's pretty far for parking.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Councilmember Abeyta.
I think everybody's seeing the passion that the governing body has to make this as successful as possible. I think you've gotten some general guidance from us on what we're thinking, but as the experts, we should empower you to go back and fine-tune this plan, and if you need to bring it back to council or just implement it, let's do it.
It's just that between now and June the 6th, it's not a lot of time. So if we wait for the council,
just do it. You got some guidance and go from there, but we can't specify everything. You guys are the experts. Do it.
Well, I think that if I threw out the 4 o'clock. If based on the influx of people, you have to make a judgment that 2 o'clock's the time.
Exactly.
You have to do it. 2:30, maybe it'd be 12. Maybe it is 12.
will you do this? Will you give us then the latitude, taking into account your input? If you give us the latitude to start at 12, all right. If we feel it's necessary at that point, but with the idea that the closer target is 4 o'clock, then if we're getting your authorization at this point to do that, then we'll work with that for sure. All right.
But to me, that would be a safety measure to go to the earlier hours. I would hate to see that the 68 is closed and it's just a few pedestrians coming in early at that early hour. I think make the judgment call when it starts creating a serious traffic jam. I mean, we've dealt with, you've had very successful events there where you have 2,000-3,000 people. Right. And if there's, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, we've kept the street open then.
We've never had 8,000 show up all at once.
Exactly. No. And I understand, but the conversation was maybe 2,000, 3,000 would be coming at 2 or 3 o'clock. Is that the time to close it? Well, we've dealt with Solarfest, very successful in the past.
So then if we take your, with one hard exception, and that is the plaza stays open.
Yes.
If you then will approve our plan here with the idea that we will close it as late as we possibly can.
Sure.
And
Okay.
we'll go forward.
That's the concurrence that I'm hearing. Is that okay?
Mayor, Council, if I may ask, is there any direction then specifically regarding Bench Street or the others that we are suggesting?
I think Bench Street and Martyrs Lane would all close at the same time that the 68 because that forces.
So you are comfortable with closing Civic, Martyrs, and Bent along with 64 as part of our control plan?
They would actually inadvertently close because there would be no access to the other road. They'd have to be turned in. Civic Plaza would be included as well.
Yeah, Civic Plaza specifically.
But at the point that you close down Paseo, then you close the other.
If I may, what I would recommend is what we'll do is just have a closure plan in place, and we will on the fly make a boots on the ground evaluation of the time when that's needed based on crowd numbers, and we can have it implemented up and running probably within 15 minutes, and then we'll pull it down when we feel it's safe to do so.
And we can get some publicity out on that.
Yes, sir.
To all the media.
Well, yes, sir. That's what the purpose of this map is, and will be explained to people. In the meantime, if you have input in the next day or two, I'd enjoy if you would share it. Also, if you would pass it around the community and get some more feedback from the community, particularly the businesses out there. We are working with the Chamber of Commerce to work with the businesses out there, and so that we can maybe make last-minute modifications here. Councilman, for example, if you think that there are other more strategic places for the drop-offs, et cetera, I'd love to hear your wisdom on that.
Well, one of the other things that just came to my mind when we were talking about that is that because there is a great percentage of the people who are coming to this concert are coming from out of town, the possibility is that the lodgers in town could be full, hopefully. And, just thinking of putting out something to their front desk or in the rooms to say, if you intend to go to town, take the public transportation rather than taking your vehicle because there is no parking downtown. And so that will also do that. So we'd have to look at how we do those shuttles coming through there from those establishments into the main part of town. But I can see that being a real assistance to us if a number of people take advantage of our housing to stay overnight, either Thursday night and Friday night or whatever, or even Wednesday night, Thursday night would be terrific. But I think we need to make it convenient for them to get to where we want them to be.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Any other questions, comments? Not, we'll move on. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we will go to the fire department presentation. Oscar, how long will this take?
Chief, could we run through it in 10 minutes?
Mayor,
Council, as the chief sits in.
I know it is getting late, and I just want to give the full amount of attention to the fire department that it deserves.
Unless you want to
do as the chief sits in, I just want to point out one big statistic that and I'd like for you to highlight that, Chief, and that is the 4th of July. How important it is to our fire protection planning and efforts that 4th of July fireworks display is.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Welcome to our meeting.
Yes. And by the way, this is the last presentation you hear this. This is the last department. Best for last.
We're putting the fire out on all the presentations.
Yeah, I hope so. Tonight I bring before you the Taos Fire Department overview. And we'll start off with our mission statement: to provide the best possible fire suppression and emergency mitigation to the citizens and visitors of the valley of Taos Valley and the surrounding areas. And that picture right there pretty much depicts our old and new. Moving on to our duties and responsibilities.
fire prevention, as the manager said, our annual 4th of July annual public fireworks display, that right there has reduced our calls to an average of about 5 a year compared to 30 to 60. There was a couple of years there where we had up to 70 calls in a day on the 4th of July. So this is very important on this one here as well. We get a lot of traffic from people from all over the county. So working with the PD at that time as well for certain areas as where to direct the traffic and where they can park. That is one of our #1 fire prevention deals, along with inspections and public education. We staff goes through about 12 to 1,500 pre-K kids through the 5th grade, all the schools, and they have a really good fire prevention program that they show the kids there, and as well as with they're starting a senior fire safety program as well with Ancianos. On our fire suppression part, we of course are structural, commercial, residential. We also do wildland and urban interface. Our training, all our firefighters are Firefighter 1 certified, hazmat awareness and operations, basic firefighter medical care, rescue and extrication. I'd like to point out that on our training, we logged over 4,300 hours in 2012 as a department. On our safety part of it, we have a real strong safety program there, operational safety, fire ground safety, our rescue operations, our employee assistance, and all this is through the Firefighter Safety and Response Guidelines through NFPA, the National Fire Protection Agency. Moving right along to our organizational chart. This organizational chart is based on the overall organization, Taos Volunteer Fire Department, as well as the Town of Taos Fire Department. All the shaded boxes are paid Town of Taos employees. Currently, we have 7 full-time employees with 1 vacancy. Our fire...
Chief, hold on 1 second.
Yes, sir.
I see your organizational chart there, and this would be a question for Oscar. Oscar. I have a question on the organizational chart. We have the volunteer fire chief, who's not in theory a paid employee of the town.
Yes, sir.
But by virtue of this organizational chart, he's effectively supervises our employees by the appearance of this organizational chart. I think this organizational chart would have to, because you're the chief and you're in charge of our paid staff. So,
yes, sir. It's
wouldn't you agree that this organizational chart has to? And I'm not saying that Chief Fambro is not above or what, but here it shows that he clearly supervises through that he's in charge of even our paid staff.
Operationally, he is.
And is that the case? And can we have a non-paid person supervising our...
Operationally, that is how we provide fire protection to the community now. Supervisory, daily supervisory control of the employees, et cetera, that's a different matter. And I think, and the reason I've done this, Mr. Mayor, is because that is the apparatus by which we provide fire protection to the town and to the valley, and to the parts outside of the county. Over the years, it started out as a volunteer effort, and over the years, the town added the paid people, and primarily added the paid people, if you will, to supplant the times of the day when we couldn't get volunteers to go out there. But that is a structure that we have, and it is a complicated arrangement.
The reason why I bring this up is we had this similar situation when we were going to have OMI be in charge of our public utilities interim when the director left, and we couldn't have a contractor,
right?
Since they were non-employees supervising our employees. So
right.
I know Brian must have stepped out, but I would check into the legalities of that to make sure that there's not an issue by virtue of the way this organizational chart is laid out. I mean, I have no problem with it, but the fact that Mr. Famo is no longer an employee, I just want to make sure that we're in
And
compliance.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, we had two separate organizational charts, one for the paid staff and then one that incorporated the volunteers. For illustration purposes, that's the reason that they had us do the shaded boxes, just saying that that is the whole organization as a whole, but we did have a separate organizational chart for the paid staff as well, which entailed the interim or the fire chief, administrative fire chief, engineer, inspector, and then firefighters.
But the fact is, and I pardon if I'm just stuck on this point, but the operations that you're seeing here, the budget, the resources, are the mission statement, et cetera, is the one that you see in front of you. And it's not two separate organizations. It's one organization. Now, we've made accommodations over the years such that the employees are supervised by an employee, period. But operationally, for example, when there is a fire effort out there, the person who coordinates that or who leads that effort is the
fire chief.
The fire chief. You see?
Fireground operations.
Yes. And so, if you will, the overall work plan, et cetera, does follow this line.
I guess I do want to make sure, now that Brian's here, is that, and if that's the structure that works, that's fine, but are we in compliance, a private individual, non-employee of the town, supervising our employees by virtue of this organizational chart? Or does the organizational chart need to be positioned differently in the event something happens? And I know that it was told before that a contractor cannot supervise the employees.
And they can't for personnel supervisory services.
So I think we need to look into that and just make sure. I mean, I don't want to belabor this at this point, but I think just look into, see if this from a personnel standpoint, if this organizational chart is good. Councilmember Silva.
First of all, I'd just like to tell Chief, congratulations. I understand now you're our permanent chief.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
If you can also explain, and I've understood it to where the way it works is that the paid fire chief, as far as operations goes, if there's a fire that breaks out within the time that you're on duty or within your paid time, then you take the fire and lead at that point, and after hours, then it's the volunteer fire chief. Is there truth to that or not?
In a way, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Silva, this organizational chart consists of basically four chiefs: the volunteer fire chief, deputy fire chief, which is myself in the volunteer organization. We've also got two assistant fire chiefs. Our bylaws and the volunteer bylaws state that first arriving unit, the driver is in charge of that call until a higher position shows up, meaning fire command. We have never, in my time, had an issue of power control on a scene. We go in there, we get things done, and it's. I understand that it's complicated to some people that haven't been involved with the combination department. That's the only department I know is combination. But there is no conflict whatsoever, in my opinion, sir.
No, and I'm not saying or insinuating that there is in any way any conflict. I just want to make sure. I do want to make sure that we're in compliance from a personnel standpoint with our code, our personnel policy.
Yes, sir.
That's the only concern. Okay. Go ahead.
Any more questions on that? Oops, Ruben, what to do here? I think we jumped on Ruben. Resources. There we go. I'm sorry. Under our resources, our fire department fleet consists of 4 engines, 3 pumper tankers, a ladder truck, 75-foot, a service technical rescue unit, mobile command unit, urban interface engine, 4 quick attack brush trucks, command vehicle. We have a support truck with a snow plow, a trench rescue trailer that's equipped with materials to handle the trench rescue, and a utility dump trailer. Out of our fleet of 19, it's probably valued approximately $6.5 million that we have there. The interesting thing on this fleet is there are no liens to this apparatus. It's all paid for up front. This apparatus as well, if we had to roll all our engines out and all our trucks out, we would be capable of rolling out with about 12,000 gallons of water at any particular time. And all of our apparatus meets or exceeds all NFPA standards as far as equipment on the vehicles on our fleet. It's all meet or exceeds NFPA. Our budget is a budget of $602,435 with 18% going towards operation and maintenance and 82% going towards salaries and benefits. On our levels of service, our hours of operation, of course, 24/7 volunteer coverage. Paid staff is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 7 days a week. And we have what's considered 2 main stations, one here on Placitas and one on Santiago, and then the 2 substations, one at Los Cordovas, and the airport is also considered one of our substations. Calls for service for 2012, we had 442 calls. Out of those 442 calls, 66 of those calls were rescue or medical related. Our response times for 2012 in the town limits was approximately 4 minutes, 27 seconds. And outside of the town limits, approximately 8 minutes. And our OPA, our outside protection area is what we consider El Prado, Ranchos, Talpa, Los Cordovas, those areas. Now out to the Gorge Bridge, it'll take us a little longer, of course. Our ISO rating, which is Insurance Services Rating, is a Class 4, with 10 being the highest, Class 1 being the lowest. We're at a Class 4 for the town limits here. So what that entails too is better insurance rates for the citizens of the town of Taos. Under our code enforcement,
Councilmember Peralta.
Sir.
Chief, congratulations.
Thank you.
On the ISO rating, what would it take to come off a couple of steps?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Peralta, actually our last inspection we were at a 6 and we dropped down to a 4, which is very good. There's 3 main factors in the ISO rating, and it's your communication centers, your water department, your tanks, holding tanks, pumps, all that stuff, and then the third being the fire department. Those 3 are incorporated into your one rating. To my knowledge, there are only 3 ISO Class 1 fire departments, being Albuquerque, Los Alamos, and Las Cruces, if I'm not mistaken, in the state. To come down, it would have to be definitely better water supply in the town, and also I think we had a couple of points knocked off on the communications, the dispatch. When we did do these ratings, we did provide the water department and the dispatch with the findings on their part. On our part, our findings we've since corrected or working on correcting, if not already corrected. It's just a matter, and they also go through call volumes, and there's a bunch of different steps towards getting it down, but it takes quite a bit to get down from a 6 to a 4, and we were able to accomplish that in one inspection. So,
One last question in that regard. What is the? How often do they do the ratings?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Peralta, I believe every 10 to or 12 to 15 years, somewhere in there.
Can you request one in the interim?
If you want,
if you,
yes, sir.
If you improve your procedures, you can ask for a
I believe if you think that you've improved in all 3 of those, that they will, if you request them, they will come back.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, under our code enforcement, we do plan reviews, and they're usually returned within 7 to 10 working days on the larger plans, 2 to 4 days on the smaller plans. We also do occupancy inspections on an annual basis, fire investigation for origin and cause, and if any suspected suspicious fires, our pre-incident planning, and what the pre-incident fire plans, what they mean is we go out there and diagram the buildings, and that includes utility spots, fire department connections, hydrant locations, and any hazards that we may find along the way there. And the other thing on that is the inspection program that we got going now, we're kind of stepping it up, and we're going to be doing quite a few more inspections. This next year, we've already started on that. On our apparatus maintenance and inspections, we have a response preparation, which means that we are ready to respond at any given moment, all equipment. That's done on a daily basis. The equipment is checked, started. We also do the daily inspection of air packs and our bunker gear upkeep and inspections. The bunker upkeep and inspections, now that we purchased a new washer and dryer specifically for bunker gear, it's going pretty good. And we were able to save quite a bit of money on what we did there, and also prolong the life of our bunker gear, and not to mention the contaminants that we're carrying home with us by not doing it in this particular fashion. This washer and dryer that we got here is top of the line, and we can wash up to 4 sets of bunker gear at one time, whereas on a regular washer we can only wash 1 set. And we're making sure that everybody is keeping their equipment clean, because we don't want them to take the contaminants to the house. So that's a really important upgrade that we did to the station this year. Any questions on this? On our strategic overview, we'll start with our strengths. We got the volunteer dedication. A lot of veteran volunteer firefighters, state-of-the-art equipment, of course. We've got a very strong community support that has been supporting the fire department organization for many, many years, and we're very proud of that they do recognize and support, as well as mayor and council, and previous mayors and councils. They have always been real supportive of our fire department. We got a veteran cross-trained staff. All personnel can function on all operation levels. We're not like huge departments where if you go out and apply for a job there, they'll train you to be a driver, a pump operator, a nozzleman. Every one of our firefighters that we graduate and we send through training can do everything from drive the truck to get down and put the fire out if they're by themselves. So every one of our firefighters is trained on every aspect of firefighting there. We've got a real strong safety initiative. We have a motto there that we hold to heart, and we really push, and that every firefighter goes home safe to their families. On our opportunities is our staffing. Like I said earlier, we're there 8 to 5, 7 days a week, but it's just the 8 to 5 part. Another on our opportunities, our active vehicle maintenance and replacement program, which we are taking real serious. We have pieces of apparatus that are up to 27 years old that should be replaced, but because of our maintenance program, they're still around, which they will be needing replacement because of the new technology, braking and electrical stuff, but they're still available for any calls that we may need them for. And then a real strong opportunity is our fire prevention. We really push that to everybody that walks into our station. And we get quite a few people on a daily basis there. Under our weaknesses, our budget limitations and cuts, I thank the mayor and council and the manager for no cutting from the town fund so far, but we have received notice that our state funding has been cut. And so we're just going to have to tighten our belts and be careful how we're doing our spending, and we're constantly monitoring our budgets. Our career staffing levels, like I said, 8 to 5. Our career advancement, that's another thing there on our organizational chart. That's one thing that we've been working with the manager and seeing how we can further create our organizational chart so that we have more advancement within our department. On our threats, increased response time, and that's means, you know, the fire growth can increase, meaning that more potential of more property loss, and more importantly, increase in civilian or firefighter injuries. That would be a threat to us. It may be harder for some volunteers to be able to leave their work during the daytime to help with fires, and we totally understand that, but they're all pretty dedicated, and like I said before, the community support, they also support their employees as firefighters. And career and volunteer retention, we have, like I can't stress enough on our dedication of our volunteer firefighters and stuff, and they have been around a long time, and they're very dedicated. It's just a matter of keeping them interested and training and keeping them healthy and everything, so we can keep them around longer, as well as bringing in new volunteers as well. Our work plan. One of our priorities that we're looking at for this fiscal year is it's called what's a database management. So Firehouse software includes the iPads, and we can pretty much store all the information that we need: incident and investigation reporting, the occupancy permits, per-incident fire plans, all training for records for personnel and activities records, equipment inventory, host testing. I mean, everything that we need we can put in here. We've been meeting with managers, and we've gotten some estimates on that, and we're hoping to be purchasing this program here hopefully within this next fiscal year, so everything will be a lot easier to look up at the end of every year that we need to get this done. The integration with the volunteer and career, just continue our safety and training programs with them, and making sure, like I mentioned before, that everybody goes home safe to their families. On the list of priorities and objectives, increased staffing hours and personnel. Who knows, maybe later on down the line we may have to look at increasing staff in there and our hours of operation. That's always something that we got to look at. Our equipment maintenance and replacement plan, as I mentioned earlier, we have a couple of pieces of apparatus that are well over 20 years old that are probably going to be scheduled in the next CIPs for replacement. We have a very good and active apparatus maintenance schedule that we have going right now, as well as equipment replacement schedule, and also our apparatus replacement plan. And then our scheduled annual testing. All our pumps have to be tested on an annual basis on every piece of apparatus that we have. Our ground ladders and our aerial ladder on a yearly basis as well. Our hydrostat testing for all our SCBA bottles, our air packs, have to be done every 5 years. Hose testing, we've got over 18,000 feet of hose that we have to test annually as well. And of course our fire hydrant flushing and testing, which is well over 450 fire hydrants in the town limits itself, approximately. And I stand for any questions.
Chief, are we responsible to test the fire hydrants on the El Prado Water and Sanitation District and the Valle de los Ranchos?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Peralta, no, we're just testing the ones in the town area. Is the 450 that I'm saying, the town limits. Our ISO is based strictly on the town limits, not our outside protection area. That's another thing that we're working on real hard, is to get an ISO inspection on the outer parts, but working with the Prado Water and Sanitation, like you said, the Ranchos and the Talpa Mutual Water, they've added a lot of hydrants there, and it's really great. It's just that we're waiting on their records before we can call ISO to come in, because that'll give all the residents in that area a better rate as well, myself included. And but no, the hydrant testing that we concentrate on right now is just within the town limits.
Wouldn't there be a concern to your department, though, if you went out to El Prado, because that's within your attack area, that you end up with a hydrant that isn't working properly?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Peralta, that is a concern. Every fire that we go to north of the town limits or south of the town limits, we have to immediately get on the radio to dispatch and make sure that they call whoever's in charge of those particular districts to turn their pumps on, because we have, we have to report the gallonage that we use and everything there. The ones that they replace in the Ranchos Talpa area, I know that they check them quite often. And I've noticed that because going down my road, in fact, they've gotten several calls from different people throughout the community of fire hydrants leaking out there, and that's because they're going out and flushing them as well. But at this point in time, we do go out and, like, I've gone out to the one closest to my house and opened it just to make sure. But it's all a working deal, and the thing is that there are restrictions on the water at this time of year. They're kind of eerie about us testing their hydrants. And it doesn't make sense, but that's one of the other reasons that we are capable of carrying 12,000 gallons of rolling water with us as well on our tankers and our pumpers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Chief, thank you. Thank you very much. And
Thanks, Chief.
appreciate everything you're doing for the fire department.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, on that item H, the closure of Plaza Drive and the traffic plan, just to make sure, I went and checked with our town clerk, and she noted that there was no vote, and I just want to clarify, if I may, with you, that what took place there was an actual approval by consensus, not a no vote.
Is that the understanding of the council? Approval by consensus?
Right. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, next we will go to item 8A, resolution consideration and possible approval of resolution 1326, urging New Mexico Public Regulation Commission to continue to deny any interim rate increase by tri-state generation and transmission. I understand that this was presented as a draft that was going to be at the be on a future council agenda, which is tonight, and it was presented at the PRC, and I believe that the PRC weighed heavily on this and looked at it. So this is I believe Brian sent an email to all of us, and we changed it to continue to deny any rate increases. And this resolution, of course, was at the request of Kit Carson Electric to get support.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Gonzalez.
I 150% support this resolution.
All righty. Entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we will go to item 9. Before, Oscar, I'd like to see on the future agenda some water conservation recommendations, and maybe a resolution urging citizens to start conserving water, and look at what our ordinances have to possibly enact and get direction from the council. What would be a first step? And it's a step to be proactive on water conservation. So I'd like to see that, and I'd like to have that noted, that to the public, get a public media release out that we are going to be considering that on an upcoming agenda.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, if we could, we might want to look at what the City of Albuquerque's water conservation policy is that they enact every summer, and that is the
hot days.
No, it's once, twice, thrice.
Yeah.
So this time of the year, it's once a week, As it gets warmer in June, it goes twice a week. And as it gets really hot, it's 3 times a week. And then it goes, as it gets cooler, it goes back down the other way.
Sure.
And it could be just something that we do as a recommendation at this point. Send out a letter of recommendation for our water users. And then we can look at what we do as if we want to enact one. But it's just something that somebody's already tried it, and it seems to be working. I know when I was in Albuquerque, it worked very well for us.
And I would look at
Plus,
also.
it looks at nothing after 10 o'clock or before 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think that we do have something in the ordinance regarding something before 10 o'clock. And sometimes I see sprinklers going on in the afternoon, and they're going, and during the wind.
They're watering the sidewalks.
They're watering the road. So that's a
Worse
waste of
yet,
water.
that they're working when it's raining.
They're sending moisture to Texas.
Yeah. Okay, so if I can, I'd like to see that on an upcoming agenda.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, I've been going to a lot of beta meetings and San Juan Chama meetings lately, and the water predictions for this year are poor. For next year, they're really poor. So I believe these, we'll have to look at some sort of ability to do mandatory restrictions, because we are looking at a extremely grim water situation unless it starts to rain a lot soon.
And I think letting the public know that so that they can voluntarily start doing that, and then we'll look at what mandatory restrictions we put in place.
I'm not suggesting mandatory now, but we may have to, the ability to do that may become necessary.
Sure. Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Motion, and is there a second? Everybody wants to stay here?
Sure.
Second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
you, Ronnie, for sticking around.
Pass a resolution contesting Texas stealing our water.
Cheeks and accept his generous offer of oil at only $50 a barrel. I think the answer could be right here.